So, oh, here we are once again, back at it. So, if anyone's here, hello, my name is SkitterSkreetch, or Skitter. I am a rat who is forced by circumstance and cruel fate to read books in this accursed library, also by a lamp. Oh, this lamp. Why does he make me do these things? I do not know. You'll have to ask him, but you can't because he is a lamp. Due to certain, in fact, there's a circumstance apparently you can't talk out loud, only directly to you in your mind. And you're not here physically, I understand that, so we can't do that for you. So, we go around and we read some books, and today we are reading. What book are we reading today? Right, we've been reading this one. We've been reading Dubliners by James Joyce, which has been an interesting book. We spent a couple of days reading it now, and yeah, it's been enjoyable. A bit complicated. Wish I had someone to talk to about it, but what are you going to do? I've also been collecting books in the off time, as I do. Come down it. I've collected a couple more Jack Londons. We already had Lost Face in, and now we've got two more: A Relic of the Pliocene and To the Man on the Trail. At some point, we're going to go through another day of Jack Londons, I expect, or maybe I'll just read one or two when I'm feeling down. But hopefully, we're going to be doing a bit more long-term reading stuff, because Lamp has decided that my throat problems are an issue for whatever he wants me to be doing. So, we've come to an agreement. That's one I'm quite excited about. So apparently, Lamp can create things other than cheese. For those that I'm paid in cheese to read things, it's the only food down here. Well, it was the only food down here, but now Lamp has said he's going to start creating something he calls throat pastils, which will apparently make my throat feel better as we go. But because he knows I'm desperate for food that is not cheese, I can't have eaten nothing but cheese for multiple years now. Lamp has made the executive decision, was it, that I'm only allowed to have one of these an hour. Now, how do we track now? We've got the clock now, and Lamp will apparently tell me when hours pass so I can have one. So yeah, we've got to do at least an hour to get one. And Lamp says the idea is that I should be doing, he says at least 2 hours, more like 4 to 8, which seems crazy to me. I don't think I've ever done more than maybe 4? That were a lot. That were a lot. But we do have books for it now, so we're gonna push on through. We're gonna work at it, and we're gonna see how we can get on. And Lamp says I've got to stop stalling because it's obvious what I'm doing, and fair enough to him. He's probably pretty obvious. So, without any further ado, we're gonna get that in a jar. The Dubliners. Last time we finished A Painful Case, the last story we've done. And today we're starting off with Day in the Committee Room. Old Jack raked the cinders together with a piece of cardboard, spread them judiciously over the whitening dome of coals. When the dome was thinly covered, his face lapsed in the darkness. But, as he sat himself to fan the fire again, a crouching shadow ascended the opposite wall. His face slowly re-emerged in the light. It was an old man's face, very bony and airy. The moist blue eyes blinked at the fire, and the moist mouth fell open at times, munching once or twice mechanically when it closed. When the cinders had caught, he laid the piece of cardboard against the wall, sighed, and said, "That's better now, Mr. O'Connor." Mr. O'Connor, a grey-haired young man whose face was disfigured by many blotches and pimples, had just brought the tobacco for a cigarette into a shapely cylinder. When spoken to, he undid his handiwork meditatively. Then he began to roll the tobacco again, meditatively, and after a moment's thought, decided to lick the paper. "Did Mr. Yearney say when he'd be back?" he asked, in a husky falsetto. He didn't say. Mr. O'Connor put his cigarette in his mouth and began to search his pockets. He took out a pack of thin pasteboard cards. "I'll get you a match," said the old man. "Never mind, this'll do," Mr. O'Connor. He selected one of the cards and read what was printed on it. Municipal election, Royal Exchange. Mr. Richard J. Tierney, PLG, respectfully solicits the favour your vote and influence to become an election in the Royal Exchange. Mr. O'Connor had been engaged by Mr. Tierney's agent to canvass one part of the wall, but as the weather was inclement and boots lay in the wet, he spent a great part of the day sitting by the fire in the committee room in Wicklow Street with Jack, the old caretaker. They had been sitting thus since the short day had grown dark, and with the 6th of October, dismal and cold out it was. Mr. O'Connor tore a strip off the card and, lighting it, lit a cigarette. As he did so, the flame lit up a leaf of dark glossy ivy on the fell of his coat. The old man watched it attentively, and then, taking up the piece of cardboard again, began to fan the fire slowly while his companion smoked. Ah, yes, he said. It's hard to know what way to bring up children. No one think it would turn out like that. I sent him to the Christian Brothers, and I've done what I could for him, and there he goes, boosting about. I tried to make him someone decent. He replaced the cardboard wearily. Only I'm an old man now. I changed his tune for him. I let a stick to his back and beat him while I could, stand over him, as I've done many a time before. The mother, you know, she cocks him up this and that. That's what rules children, said Mr. O'Connor. You sure it is, said the old man. And little thanks you get for it, only impudence. He takes the upper hand to me whenever he sees I've either sucked taken. What's the world coming to when sons speak to their father that way? What age is they? Said Mr. O'Connor. 19, said the old man. Why don't you put him to something? Sure, I never done the drunken bowsy ever since he left school. I won't keep you, I says. You must get a job for yourself. I'm sure it's worse whenever he gets a job. He drinks it all. Mr. O'Connor slapped his head in sympathy. The old man fell silent, gazing into the fire. Someone opened the door of the room and called out, Hello? It's a Freemasons meeting. Who's that? Said the old man. What are you doing in the dark? Asked the boy. That you, Ames? Asked Mr. O'Connor. Yes. What are you doing in the dark? Said Mr. Ames, glancing in the light of the fire. You were a tall, slender young man with a light brown moustache. Imminent little drops of rain hung at the brim of his hat, and the collar of his jacket coat turned up. Well, Matt, said Mr. O'Connor, how goes it? Mr. O'Connor shook his head. The old man left the hearth and, after stumbling about the room, returned with 2 candlesticks, which he thrust one after the other into the fire and carried to the table. The denuded room came into view, and the fire lost all its cheerful colour. The walls of the room were bare, except for a copy of an election book. In the middle of the room, a small table on which papers were written. Mr. Irons leaned against the mantelpiece and asked, Has he paid you yet? Not yet, said Mr. O'Connor. I hope to God he'll not leave us in the lurch tonight. Mr. Irons laughed. I will pay you, never fear. I hope he'll look smart about it if it means business, Mr. O'Connor. What do you think, Jack? Mr. Irons staring at the old man. The old man returned to his seat by the fire, saying, He isn't, but he has it anyway, not like the other thing. What's the other thing? Colgan, said the old man scornfully. Is it because Colgan's a working man you say that? What's the difference between a good honest bricklayer and a publican, eh? Ain't the working man as good a right as any to be in the corporation, as good a right as be in the corporation as anyone else? Aye, a better right than those Janines that are always having hand or any fellow with a hand in his name. Isn't that so, Mr. O'Connor? I think you're right. One man is a plain honest man with no hunker sliding about him. He goes in to represent the labour class. This fellow you're working for only wants to get some job around. Of course, the working classes should be represented, said the man. The working man, said Mr. Lance, it's all kicked to no after. His labour produces everything. The working man is not looking for fat jobs for his sons and his nephews who doesn't. The working man is not going to drag the honour of Dublin in the mud to please the German monarch. How's that, the old man? Don't you know they want to present an address of welcome to Edward Rex if he comes here next year? What do we want Cowtown or Warrington? Our man won't vote for the address, Mr. O'Connor. He goes in on the nationalist ticket. Won't he? Mr. O'Connor. Wait till you see whether he will or not. I know him. Is it Tricky Dicky Tierney? By God, perhaps you're right, Jack. Anyway, I wish he'd turn up with the spondular. Three men fell silent. The old man began to rake more cinders together. Mr. Irons took off his hat, shook it, and then turned down the collar of his coat, displaying as he did so an ivy leaf from the coat. This man were a liar, he said, confidently. We have no thought to address a welcome. Astros, Mr. O'Connor. Musha got me with the dark, said the old man. There was some laughter then. The room was silent again, and a bustling little man with a snuffling nose and very cold ears pushed in the door. He walked over quickly to the fire, rubbing his hands as if he intended to produce a spark. No money, boys, he said. Sit down here, Mr. Henshaw, the old man, offering him his chair. Don't stir, Jack, don't stir, said Mr. Henshaw. He nodded curtly to Miss Diamond and sat down on the chair, which the old man reclined. Did you serve Orkney Street? He asked Mr. O'Connor. Yes, Mr. O'Connor, giving a search around. Did you call on Grant? I did. Well, how does he stand? He wouldn't promise. He said, I won't tell anyone what way I'm going to vote. I think it'll be all right. Why so? He asked me who the nominator was. I told him, mentioned Father Burke's name. I think it'll be all right. Mr. Henshaw began to snuff and rub his hands over the fire at terrific speed. Then he said, For the love of God, Jack, bring us a bit of coal. Must be somewhere. The old man went out of the room. No go, Mr. Henshaw said. He asked the little shoe boy, but he said, Oh no, Mr. Henshaw, when I see the work going on properly, I won't forget you. You may be sure. Musha, how can I hear anything else? Well, I tell you, Matt, Mr. Rose, tricky dicky journey. Oh, he's tricky as a makes sense, Mr. Henshaw. He hasn't got those little pig's eyes for nothing. Blast his soul. Couldn't he pay up like a man instead of, Oh no, Mr. Henshaw, I must speak to Mr. Fannin. I spent a lot of money. Me and little shoe boy about. I suppose if he gets the time, his little old father can be handing down shopping there in his lane. Is that a fact, Mr. O'Connor? God, yes, Mr. Henshaw. You ever hear that? The men used to go in on Sunday morning before the houses were open, buy a waistcoat and trousers. My Tricky Dicky's little old father always had a tricky little black book. You mind now? I snapped. That's where he first saw the light. The old man returned with a few lumps of coal, which he placed here and there on the floor. That's a nice how you do, said Mr. O'Connor. How does he expect us to work for him if we won't stump up? Can't help it, said Mr. Henshaw. I expect to find the bailiffs in the hall when I go home. Mr. Irons laughed and, shoving himself away from the mantelpiece with the aid of his shoulder, made ready to leave. He'll be alright when King Eddie comes, he said. Oh, boys, I'm off for the present. See you later. Bye-bye. He went out the room slowly. Neither Mr. Henshaw nor the old man said anything. Just as the door closing, Mr. O'Connor, staring moodily into the fire, called out suddenly, Fire, Joe! Mr. Henshaw went a few moments, and then nodded in the direction of the door. Tell me, said the fire, what brings our friend in here? What does he want? Musha, poor Joe, said Mr. O'Connor, throwing the end of his cigarette into the fire. He's hard up like the rest of us. Mr. Henshaw snuffed him vigorously and spat so copiously that he nearly put out the fire, joining the distant protest. Although you're my private candidate, he said, I think he's a man from the other camp. He's a spy of Colden's, he asked me. Just go around and try and find out again. They won't suspect me. You twig? Ah, poor Joe's a piece of skin. His father was a decent respect, no? Poor old Larry I. Many a good turn he did that day. I'm greatly afraid our friend is not 19 carat. I understand the fellow being hard up. What I can't understand is the fellow sponging. Couldn't he have some spark of man? He don't get a warm welcome from me when he comes. Let him work for his own soul. Spying around here. I don't know, Mr. dubiously. Took out cigarette papers and that. I think Joe Hine is a straight man. He's a clever chap, too. Damn. Remember that thing he wrote? And these ill-siders and Benny a bit too clever for us beings. You know what my private and candid opinion is about some of those little jokers? I believe half of them are in the pay of the castle. No one's. Oh, but I know it for a fact, said Mr. Mitchell. They're castle actors. I don't say I done it. I use a stroke above that. There's a certain little nobleman with a cocker. You know, the patron of the blue. Mr. O'Connor nodded. There's a lineal descendant from Major Sir for you, if you like. Oh, the art's blood of the patron. That's a fellow now. Son his country before. Aye. Go down on his bended knee, thank the Almighty Christ he had a country to serve. They were knocking at the door. Come in, Mr. Henshaw. The person resembling a poor clergyman, a poor actor, appeared at the doorway. Black clothes were tightly buttoned and a short body. It were impossible to say whether he wore a clothesman's collar or a layman. Just the collar of his shabby frock coat, the uncovered buttons of which reflected the candlelight, turned up about his neck. He wore a round hat with a hard black belt. His face, shining with raindrops, had the appearance of damp yellow cheese, save where 2 roses was indicating the cheekbone. He opened his very long mouth, suddenly and expressed disappointment. At the same time opened wide his very bright blue eyes and expressed pleasure and surprise. "Oh, Father Keon," said Mr. Lynch. "Is that you? Come on." "Oh, no, no." Christmas lips. "Why you come in and sit down?" "No, no, no," said Father Keon. "Discreet, indulgent, Calvin was. Don't let me disturb you now. It's looking for Mr. Bennet. He's round at the Black Eagle. Why won't you come in and sit down?" "No, no, thank you. Just a little business matter." "Thank you indeed." He retreated from the doorway. Mr. Entry, seizing one of the candlesticks, he all the light him down the stairs. "Oh, don't trouble, I beg. No, the stairs are so dark." "No, no." "Oh, you're right. All right, thank you. Mr. Entry returned with the candlestick and put it on the table. He sat down again at the fire. There was silence for a few moments. "Tell me, John," Mr. O'Connor lighted his cigarette with another place on the fire. "Hmm? What is he exactly?" "Ask me an easy one," said Mr. Entry. Bannon himself seemed to be very. "You're often in Dubliners altogether. Is he a priest at all?" "Yes, I believe so. I think he's what you call a black sheep. We haven't many of them here, thank God. But we have a few. He's an unfortunate man of some kind." "How does he knock it out?" asked Mr. "That's another mystery." "Is he attached to any chapel or church or institution or—" "No, Mr. Entry. I think he's travelling on his own account. God forgive me," he added. "I thought he was the dozen of stout." "Is there any chance of a drink itself?" asked Mr. O'Connor. "I'm tried to," said the old man. "Last time it was shoeboy 3 times," said Mr. Entry. "Would he send up a dozen of stout?" I asked him again now. He was leaning on the counter in his shirt sleeves and a deep gusto with old Crowley. "Why didn't you remind them?" said Mr. O'Connor. "Well, I couldn't go over when he was talking to old Crowley. I just waited till I caught his eye and said, 'About that little matter I was speaking to you about.' 'That'll be all right, Mr. H,' he said. 'Yeah, sure the little hoppo my thumb has forgotten all about it.' There's some deal on that quarter, Mr. O'Connor thought. I saw the 3 of them hard at it yesterday at Sutton Street corner." "I think I know the little game they're at," said Mr. Entry. "You must owe the city father's money nowadays if you want to be made Lord Mayor. Then they'll make you Lord Mayor. By God, I'm thinking seriously of becoming a city father myself. What do you think? Will I do for the job?" Mr. O'Connor laughed. "So far as owing money goes, driving out the mansion house, Mr. Entry, and all my vermin, with Jack here standing up behind me in a powdered wig, yeah? And make me your private secretary, Joe. Yes, I'll make Father Keon my private chaplain. We'll have a family party." "Faith, Mr. Entry," said the old man, "you keep up better style than some of them. I was talking one day to old Keegan, the porter. 'And how do you like your new master, Pat?' says I to him. 'You have much entertaining now,' says I. 'Entertaining,' says he. 'You live on the smell of an oil rig.' And you know what he told me? And I declare to God I didn't believe it." "What?" said Mr. Entry. "He told me, 'What do you think of a Lord Mayor of Dublin sending out for a pound of chops for his dinner? How's that for hard living?' Wisha. Pound of chops, says he. Going into the mansion house? Wisha. What kind of people is going at all now?" At this point there were a knock at the door. A boy put in his head. "What is it?" said the old man. "To the Black Eagle," said the boy, walking in sideways and depositing a basket on the floor. The noise of shaking bottles. The old man helped the boy to transfer the bottles from the basket to the table and mechanically pulled down them. After the transfer, the boy put his basket on his arm and asked, "Any bottles?" "What bottles?" said the old man. "Why don't you let us drink them first, Mr. Entry? I was told for us for bottles." "I'm at tomorrow," said the old man. "Here, boy," said Mr. Entry. "Will you run over old Farrell's and ask them to let us cork through?" "Mr. Entry, sir. Tell them we won't keep it a minute. Leave the basket there." The boy went out and Mr. Entry began to rub his hands cheerfully, saying, "Ah, well, it's not so bad after all. He's as good as his word, anyhow. There's no tumblers." "Don't let that trouble you, Jack," said Mr. Entry. "Many's a good man before now that drank out of the bottle. Anyway, it's better than nothing, said Mr. O'Connor. "He's not a bad sort," said Mr. Entry. "Only fan and there's such a loan of him. He means well, you know, in his own tin-pot way. The boy came back with a corkscrew. The old man opened 3 bottles and was handing back the corkscrew when Mr. Entry said to the boy, "Would you like a drink, boy?" "If you please, sir," said the boy. The old man opened another bottle grudgingly and handed it to the boy. "What age are you?" he asked. 17, said the boy. As the old man said nothing further, the boy took the bottle, said, "Here's my best respects, sir, Mr. Entry," drank the contents, put the bottle back on the table and wiped his mouth with his sleeve. Then he took up the corkscrew and went out the door sideways, muttering some form of salutation. "That's the way it begins," said the old man. "Thin edge of the wedge," Mr. Entry. The old man distributed the 3 bottles which he had opened and then drank from them simultaneously. After having drunk, each placed his bottle on the mantelpiece with their hands reached, drew in a long breath of satisfaction. "Well, I did a good day's work today," Mr. Entry, after a pause. "That's so, John?" "Yes, I've got 1 or 2 sure things in Dawson Street, Crofton and myself. Between ourselves, you know, Crofton is a decent chap, of course. He's not worth a damn to count. He hasn't a word to threaten with a dog. He stands and looks at people while I do the talking. He had 2 men in the room. One of them were a very fat man, his blue serge clothes seemed to be in danger of falling from his sloping figure. He had a big face, which resembled a young ox's face expression, staring blue eyes and grizzled mustache. The other man, who was much younger and frailer, had a thin, clean-shaven face. He wore a very high Dublin collar and a wide-brimmed bowler. "Hello, Crofton," said Mr. Entry to the fat man. "Talk of the devil." "Where did the boost come from?" asked the young man. "Did the cow calve?" "Of course, Lion spots the drinks first thing," said Mr. O'Connor, laughing. "Is that the way you chaps canvass, Mr. Lion? Crofton lie out in the cold and rain looking for votes?" "I blast your soul," said Mr. Entry. "I'd get more votes in 5 minutes than you could get in a week." "Open 2 bottles of stout, Jack," said Mr. O'Connor. "How can I?" said the old man. "There's no corkscrew." Wait now," said Mr. Entry, getting up quickly. "You ever see this little trick?" He took 2 bottles from the table and, carrying them to the fire, put them on the hob. He sat down again by the fire and took another drink from his bottle. Mr. Leon stood on the edge of the table, pushed his cap towards the nape of his neck, and began to swing his legs. "Which is my bottle?" "This lad," said Mr. Entry. Mr. Crofton sat down on a box and looked fixedly at the other bottle on the hob. He was silent for 2 reasons. The first reason, sufficient in itself, was he had nothing to say. The second reason was that he considered his companions beneath him. He had been a canvasser for Wilkin, Conservative, and when the Conservatives had withdrawn their man, choosing the lesser of 2 evils, given their support to the Nationalist candidate, he had been engaged to work for Mr. Gurney. In a few minutes, an apologetic pop was heard, and the cork flew out of Mr. Leon's bottle. Mr. Leon's jumped off the table, went to the fire, took his bottle, and carried it back to the table. "I was just telling them, Crofton," said Mr. Entry, "we've got a good few votes today." "Who did you get?" asked Mr. Leon. "Well, I got Parks for 1, and I got Atkinson for 2, and I got Ward off Dawson Street. Fine old chap he is, too, regular old top, old Conservative. "Isn't your candidate a Nationalist?" said he. "He's a respectable man," said I. "He's in favour of whatever will benefit this country. He's a big rate payer. He has extensive house property in the city, 3 places of business, and isn't it to his own advantage to keep down the rent? He's a prominent and respected citizen, and a poor law guardian, don't belong to any party, good, bad, or indifferent. That's the way to talk to him." "What about the address to the king?" "Listen to me," said Mr. Entry. "What we want in this country, as I said to old Ward, is capital. The king's coming here will mean an influx of money into this country. The citizens of Dublin will benefit by it. Look at all the factories down by the quay there, Look at all the money there is in the country. We only work the old industries, mills, the shipyards, building yards, factories. It's capital we want. Look here, John," said Mr. O'Connor. "Why should we welcome the King of England? Didn't Parnell himself?" "Parnell," said Mr. Entry, "is dead. Now, here's the way I look at it. Here's this Jack comes to the throne after his old mother, keeping him out of it till the man was grey. He's a man of the world, and he means well by us. He's a jolly fine decent fellow, he asks me. No damn nonsense about it. He just says to himself, the old one never went to see these wild Irish. By Christ, I'll go myself and see what they're like. Are we going to insult the man when he comes over here for a friendly visit? Yeah? Isn't that right, Crofton?" Mr. Crofton nodded his head. "After all now," said Mr. Leon's argument. King Edward's life, you know, is not the very... Let bygones be bygones, Mr. Edge. I admire the man personally. He's just an ordinary knockabout like you and me. He's fond of his glass of grog, and he's a bit of a rake brat, and he's a good sportsman. Damn it, can't we Irish play fair? That's all very fine, said Mr. Leon. Look at the case of Parnell now. In the name of God, said Mr. Edge, where's the analogy between the two cases? What I mean, said Mr. Leon, is that we have our ideals. Why now would we welcome a man like that? Do you think now, after what you did, Parnell were a fit man to lead us? And why then would we do it for Edward VII? This is Parnell's anniversary, said Mr. O'Connor. Don't let's stir up any bad blood. We all respect him now that he's dead and gone, even the Conservatives do, said Mr. Crofton. Pop! A tardy cork flew out of Mr. Crofton's pocket. Mr. Crofton got up from the box and went down to the fire. As he returned with his capture, he said in a deep voice, I sadly asked respect to him because he were a gentleman. Right you are, Crofton, said Mr. Anchovies. We're the only man that can keep the bag of cats in order. Down you dogs, lie down you curs, that's the way you treated them. Come in, Joe, come in, he called out, sighting Mr. Irons at the doorway. Mr. Irons came in slowly. Open another bottle of stout, Jack, Mr. Edge. Oh, I forgot there's no cork tree. Here, show me one here and I'll put it in at the fire. The old man handed him another bottle. He placed it on the hob. Sit down, Joe, said Mr. O'Connor. We're just talking about the chief. Ah, said Mr. Edge. Mr. Irons sat on the table near Mr. Leon and said nothing. There's one of them anyhow, said Mr. Edge. Didn't renege him. By God, I'll say for you, Joe. No, by God, you stuck him like a man. Oh, Joe, said Mr. O'Connor suddenly. Give us that thing you wrote. You remember? You got it on you? Oh, said Mr. Edge. Give us that. Did you ever hear that, Crofton? Listen to this now. Splendid, eh? Go on, said Mr. O'Connor. Fire away, Joe. Mr. Irons did not seem to remember at once the piece to which they were alluding. After reflecting a while, he said, that thing, sure, that's old now. Out of the man, said Mr. O'Connor. Shh, said Mr. Edge. Now, Joe. Mr. Irons hesitated a little longer, and amid the silence, he took his hat, laid it on the table, and stood up. He seemed to be rehearsing the piece in his mind. After rather a long pause, he announced, The Death of Parnell, 6th October, 1891. He cleared his throat once or twice, and then began to recite. He is dead, our uncounted king is dead. O Erin, mourn with grief and woe, for he lies dead, and the fell gang, modern hypocrite, laid low. He lies slain by the coward hounds, he raised to glory from the mire, and Erin's hopes and Erin's dreams perish upon her monarch's pyre. In palace cabin orange clock the Irish heart where'er it be, is bowed with woe, for he is gone, who would have brought her destiny. He would have had his Erin fame, the green flag gloriously unfurled, as statesmen, bards, and warriors raised before the nations of the world. He dreamed, alas, 'twas but a dream of liberty, but as he strove to clutch that iron treachery, sundered him from the thing he loved. Shame on the coward caitiff Anne, smote their lord with a kiss, betrayed him to the rebel rout, born and priests, no friends. The everlasting shame consumed the memory of those who tried to befoul and smear the exalted name of one who spurned them in his pride. Who fell as fool the mighty, nobly undaunted to the last, and death has now united him with Erin's hero at last. No sound of strife disturbs his sleep, calmly he rests, no human pain, where high ambition spurs him now, peaks of glory to attain. They had their way, they laid them low, but Erin list the spirit may rise like the phoenix from the flame that breaks the dawning of the day. The day that brings us freedom's reign, and on that day may Erin well pledge in the cup she lifts the joy, one grief, the memory of Parnell. Mr. Irons sat down again at the table. When he had finished his recitation, there were a silence, and a burst of clapping. Even Mr. Leon clapped. The applause continued for a little time. When it had ceased, all the auditors drank from their bottles in silence. Pop! The cork blew out of Mr. Irons' bottle. Mr. Irons remained sitting, flushed and bareheaded on the table. He did not seem to revert to invitation. Good man, Joe, said Mr. Irons, taking out his cigarette papers and pouch and analysed his motion. What do you think of that, Crofton? Asked Mr. Edge. Isn't that fine? What? Mr. Crofton said, a very fine piece of writing. That's the end of Ivy Day in the committee room. I take my habitual drink before I consider these, because sort of think of them. I'll say for this one that, well, I can tell there's a lot there. I think most of what I'm missing is context. I'm sort of limited in my understanding of the world, I suppose, but well, limited to what I've read. As to down here, I wouldn't always censure things. While there are certain things I know instinctively, not knowing how I know them, I don't think I've ever heard of Parnell. And I'm guessing he was some sort of leader. He seems a beloved one, but without the context to understand the significance of it, which I think leaves me sort of absent in this piece. Though again, there's a great deal of connection, the nature of people and personal connection. You have the sort of clear divide of the single man conservative among them, who thinks himself better than the rest. Sort of jolly camaraderie among most of the rest of them. Judgment and backward and second hand. Other than that, I don't really know. I don't think I've got enough to sort of comment on it. Yeah, I suppose I'll press on. Yeah. I'm curious though. Anyhow. My mother. Miss Holohan, Assistant Secretary of the Airaboo Society, I've been walking up and down Dublin for nearly a month, with his hand and pocket full of dirty pieces of paper, arranging about the series of concerts. He had a game leg, and this his friends called him off the Holohan. He walked up and down constantly, stood by the Arab street corners arguing the point and made notes. In the end, it was Miss Kearney who arranged everything. Miss Devlin had become Mrs. Kearney out of spite. She'd been educated in an high-class convent where she had learned French and music. As she was naturally pale and unbending in manner, she made few friends at school. When she came to the age of marriage, she was sent out to many houses where her playing and ivory manners were much admired. She sat in the chilly circle of her accomplishments, waiting for some sort of craving, not very brilliant mind. The young men whom she met were ordinary. She gave them no encouragement, trying to console her romantic desires by a great deal of purposeful art in secret. However, when she drew near the limit of her friends, began to loosen the limit, and her friends began to loosen the contact, she was silenced by marrying Mr. Kearney, who a bootmaker and ornament cracked the king. You were much older than she. His conversation, which was serious, placed at intervals in his great round field. After the first year of married life, Mrs. Kearney conceived such a man would wear better than a romantic person. She never put her own romantic ideas away. He was sober, thrifty and fine. He went to the altar every first Friday, sometimes go, often by himself. She never weakened in her religion, and was a good wife to him. For some part, he in a strange house, she lifted her eyebrow, ever so slightly. He stood up to take his leave, and when his cough troubled him, she put the eider-down quilt over his feet and made a strong rum punch. For his part, he were a model father, by paying a small sum every week into society, and sure for both his daughters, dowry £100 each when they came to the age of 24. He sent the elder daughter, Kathleen, to a good convent where she learned French and music, and afterward paid her fees at the academy. Every year in the month of July, Mrs. Kearney found occasion to say to something. Our good man is tucking us off to Skerries for a few minutes. If it were not Skerries, or Howth, or Greystone. When the Irish revival began to be appreciable, Mrs. Kearney began to take advantage of the daughter's family and brought an Irish teacher to the house. Kathleen and her sister sent Irish picture postcards to their friends, and these friends sent back other Irish postcards. On special Sundays, Mr. Kearney went with his family to the Grove Cathedral. A little crowd of people would assemble after Mass at the corner of the cathedral. They were all friends of Kearney's, musical friends or nationalist friends, and when they had played every little counter across them, they shook hands with one another or together, laughing, crossing so many hours, said goodbye to one another in Irish. Soon the name of Miss Kathleen Kearney began to be heard often on people's lips. People said that she was very clever at music and a very nice girl, and moreover that she was a believer in the language. Mrs. Gurney was well contented. Therefore, she was not surprised when one day Mr. Holohan came to her and proposed that her daughter should be accompany in this at a series of 4 grand concerts which his society was going to give in the ancient concert room. She brought him into the drawing room, made him sit down, and brought out the decanter and the silver biscuit jar. She entered heart and soul into the details of the advised and persuaded. And finally, a contract was drawn up by which Kathleen was to receive 8 guineas for her services as an accompanist for 4 grand concerts. As Mr. Holohan was a novice at such enterprises, word bills, disposing of items for the programme, Mrs. Gurney. She had that. She knew what artists should go in the capital and what artists should go in the small part. She knew that the first tenor would not like to come on after Mr. Meade's comic comedy. To keep the audience continually diverted, she slipped the doubtful items in between the old favourites. Mr. Holohan called to see her every day to have her advice on sometime. She was invariably friendly and advising, only she pushed the decanter towards him, saying, "Now help yourself, Mr. Holohan." And while he was helping himself, she said, "Don't be afraid, of her." Everything went on smoothly. Mrs. Kearney bought some lovely blue, lush pink charmeuse and brown promises in the front of Kathleen's dress. It cost a pretty penny, but the occasion when a little expenses justified. There are occasions when a little expenses justified. She took a dozen of 2-shilling tickets for the final concert and sent them to those friends who could not be trusted to come other times. She forgot nothing, and, thanks to her, everything that was to be done was done. The concerts were to be on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Mrs. Kearney arrived with her daughter at the ancient Antioch concert rooms on Wednesday night. She did not like the look of it. A few young men wearing bright blue badges in their coats stood idle in the vestibule. None of them wore evening dress. She passed by with her daughter. A quick glance from the open doors of the hall showed her the cause of this idleness. First she wondered, had she mistaken the hour? No, 20 minutes to 8. In the dressing room, behind the stage, she was introduced to the secretary of the society, Mr. Fitzpatrick. He smiled and shook his hand. He was a little man with a white vacant face. She noticed that he wore his soft brown hat carelessly on the side of it. His accent was flat. He had a programme in his hand, and, while talking to her, he chewed one end of it from a moist top. He seemed to bear disappointment to life. Mr. Holohan came into the dressing room every few minutes with reports from the box office. The artists talked among themselves nervously, glanced round the dial of the mirror, and rolled and unrolled their music. When it went nearly 8:30, a few people in the hall began to express their desire to be entertained. Mr. Fitzpatrick came in, smiled vaguely at the room, and said, "Well now, ladies and gentlemen, I suppose we'd better open the pool." Mrs. Kearney rewarded his very flat final syllable with a quick stare of contempt, and then said to her daughter encouragingly, "Are you ready, dear?" When she had an opportunity, she called Mr. Holohan aside and asked him to tell her what it meant. Mr. Holohan did not know what it meant. He said the committee had made a mistake in arranging the 4 concerts. 4 were too many. And the artistes, said Mrs. Kearney, of course they are doing their best. Really, they are not. Mr. Holohan admitted the artists were no good. The committee, he said, decided to let the first 3 concerts go as they pleased and reserve all the talents for Saturday. Mrs. Kearney said nothing, but the mediocre acts followed one another on the platform, a few people in the hall, fewer and fewer. She began to regret that she had put herself to any expense for such a concert. There was something she didn't like in the look of things. Mr. Fitzpatrick's vacant smile irritated her very much. However, she said nothing and waited to see how it would end. The concert expired shortly before 10, and everyone went home quickly. The concert on Thursday night was better attended. Mrs. Gurney saw at once that the house was filled with paper. The audience behaved indecorously, as if the concert were an informal dress rehearsal. Mr. Fitzpatrick seemed to enjoy himself. He was quite unconscious that Mrs. Gurney would take aim at his conduct. He stood at the edge of the screen from time to time, jutting out his head and exchanging a laugh with 2 friends in the corner of the balcony. In the course of the evening, Mrs. Gurney learned that the Friday concert was to be abandoned. The committee were going to move heaven and earth to secure a bumper house on Saturday night. When she heard this, she sought out Mr. Holohan. She buttonholed him as he was limping out with a glass of lemonade. The young lady asked him true? Yes, it was true. Of course, that doesn't hold the contract. The contract was for 4 concerts. Mr. Olahan seemed to be in a hurry. He advised her to speak to Mr. Fitzpatrick. Mrs. Kearney was now beginning to be alarmed. She pulled Mr. Fitzpatrick away from the screen, told him that the daughter had signed for 4 concerts, and that, of course, according to the terms of the contract, she should receive the summer entry stipend, whether the society gave her or not. Mr. Fitzpatrick did not catch the point initially. Very quickly, seemed unable to resolve the difficulty, and he said that he would bring the matter before the committee. Mrs. Kearney's anger began to flutter in her cheek. She had all she could do to keep from asking, "Who is the committee?" She knew that it would not be ladylike to do that. She was silent. Little boys were sent out into the principal streets of Dublin early on Friday morning with bundles of handbills. Special puffs appeared in all the evening papers, reminding the music loving public of the treat which was in store for them the following evening. Mrs. Kearney was somewhat reassured. She thought well to tell her husband part of her suspicions. He listened carefully and said that perhaps it would be better if he went to her exactly tonight. She agreed. She respected her husband in the same way as she respected the general postal. Something large, secure and fixed. And though she knew the small number of his talents, she appreciated his abstract life as a man. She was glad that he had suggested coming with her, and thought her plans over. The night of the grand concert came. Mrs. Kearney, her husband and daughter arrived at the Antient concert rooms 3/4 of an hour before the time at which the concert would begin. They all luck that were rainy. Mrs. Kearney placed her daughter's clothes and music in charge of her husband, went all over the building looking for Mr. Olahan or Mr. Fitzpatrick. She could find neither. She asked the steward, was any member of the committee in the room, and after a great deal of trouble, the steward brought out a little woman named Miss Burney, to whom Miss Kearney explained she wanted to see one of the secretaries. Miss Burney explained that any minute, expected them any minute, and asked could she do anything. Miss Kearney looked at the oldish face, which was screwed in with an expression of trustfulness and enthusiasm, and answered, "No, thank you." The little woman hoped they would have a good house. She looked out in the rain through the melancholy of the wet street, and faced all the trustfulness and enthusiasm of her twisted future. Then she gave a little sigh and said, "Oh well, we did our best, dear nose." Mrs. Kearney had to go back to the dressing room. The artistes were arriving. The bass and second tenor had already come. The bass, Mr. Dugan, was a slender young man, with a scattered back of style. He was the son of an old porter in an office in the city, and as a boy he had sung prolonged bass notes in the resounding. In this humble state he had raised himself until he had become a first-rate artiste. He had appeared in grand opera. One night, in an operatic artiste at Borneo, he had undertaken the part of the king in the opera of Maritana, Queenstown. He sang his music with great feeling and volume, and was warmly welcomed by the gallery. Unfortunately, he marred the impression by wiping his nose and his gloved hand once or twice out of thoughtlessness. We were unassuming and spoke little. He said "use" so softly that it passed on nothing. He never drank anything stronger than milk or oysters. Mr. Bell, the second tenor, a fair-haired little man, who competed every year for prizes at the bass scale. In his 4th trial he had been awarded a bronze medal. He was extremely nervous, extremely jealous of other tenors. He covered his nervousness and jealousy in a boolean friendliness. It was his humour to have people know that no one could feel like concert was to him. Therefore, when he saw Mr. Dugan, he went over to him and asked, "Are you in it too?" "Yes," Mr. Dugan. Mr. Bell laughed at his fellow sufferer, held out his hand, and said, "Shake." Mrs. Kearney passed by the two young men and went to the edge of the screen to view the act. The seats were being filled up rapidly. A pleasant noise circulated in the auditorium. She came back and spoke to her husband privately. The conversation were evidently about Kathleen. They both glanced at her often. She stood chatting with one of her national friends. Miss Healy, the contralto, an unknown solitary woman with a pale face, walked through the room. The woman followed with keen eyes, wearing a blue dress stretched upon neither body. Someone said that she was Madame Gleam, the soprano. "I wonder where did they dig her up?" Kathleen said. "I'm sure I never heard of her." Miss Healy had to smile. Mr. Olahan entered the dressing room. At that moment, the 2 young ladies asked her who was the unknown woman. Mr. Olahan said that she was Madame Gleam from London. Madame Gleam took her stand in the corner of the room, recording the roll of music stiffly before her, time to time changing the direction of her startled gaze. The shadow took her faded dress and began to show her. though revengeful to look up behind their collar. The noise of the orb became more audible. The first tenor and the baritone arrived together. They were both well dressed, stout, complacent, and they brought a breath of opulence among the company. Mrs. Kearney brought her daughter over to them and talked to them amiably. They wouldn't be on good terms with them, but while she strove to be polite, her eyes followed Mr. O'Lahan and Miss Lincoln in devious courses. As soon as she could, she excused herself and went out after them. Mr. O'Lahan, I want to speak to you for a moment, she said. They went down the discreet part of the corridor. Mrs. Kearney asked them when was her daughter going to be paid. Mr. O'Lahan said that Mr. Fitzpatrick had hardly had charge of her. Mrs. Kearney said that she didn't know anything about Mr. Fitzpatrick. Her daughter had signed a contract for 8 guineas, and she would have it to be paid. Mr. O'Lahan said that wasn't his business. Why isn't it your business? Asked Miss Kearney. Didn't you yourself bring her the contract? Anyway, it's not your business, it's my business. I'm here to see to it. You'd better speak to Mr. Fitzpatrick, said. I don't know anything about Mr. Fitzpatrick, repeated Mrs. Kearney. I have my contract. I intend to see that it's carried out. When she came back to the dressing room, her cheeks were slightly singed. The room was large. Two men in outfit dressed had taken possession of the fireplace and chatted familiarly with the ceiling and the barrack. They were the Freeman man and Mr. O'Mahan Thurr. The Freeman man come in to say that he couldn't wait for the concert as he had to report the lecture, which an American priest was given in the mansion house. He said they were to leave the report for him at the Freeman office, and he would see that he went up and went in. They were a grey-haired man with a plausible voice and careful manners. He held an extinguished cigar in his hand, and the aroma of cigar smoke floated near him. He had not intended to stay a moment with his concerts and artistes bored him considerably, but he remained leaning against the mantelpiece. Miss Ely stood in front of him, talking and laughing. They were old enough to suspect one reason for her politeness, but young enough in spirit to turn the moment to account. The warmth, fragrance, and colour of her body appealed to his senses. He was pleasantly conscious that the bosom which he saw rise and fall slowly beneath him rose and fell in a grin, with the laughter and fragrance, and wilful glances were his tribute. When he could stay no longer, he took leave of her regretfully. O'Mahan Thurr will write the notice, explained to Mr. O'Lahan, and I'll see it here. Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson, said Mr. O'Lahan. You'll see it, and I know. Now, when you have a little something to do, I don't mind, said Mr. Anderson. The two men went along some tortuous passage, up the dark staircase, and came to a secluded room. One of the stewards was uncorking bottles for a few gentlemen. One of these gentlemen was Mr. O'Mahan Thurr, who found out the room by instinct. He was a suave, elderly man, who, balancing his composing body on the desk, a large silver umbrella. His magniloquent Western name was a moral umbrella upon which he balanced the fine problem of his finances, and were widely respected. While Mr. O'Lahan were entertaining the Freeman man, Mrs. Kearney was speaking so animatedly to her husband that he had to ask her to lower her voice. The conversation of the others in the dressing room became strained. Mr. Bell, the first husband, stood ready with the music. The accompanist made no sign. Evidently something was wrong. Mr. Kearney looked straight before him, stroking his beard, while Mrs. Kearney spoke to Kathleen's ear with subdued emphasis. From the all came sounds of encouragement, clapping and stamping her feet. The first tenor and the baritone and Miss Ely stood together and went tranquilly. Mr. Bell's nerves were greatly agitated because he was afraid the audience would think that he'd come late. Mr. O'Lahan and Mr. O'Mahan Thurr came into the room. In a moment, Mr. O'Lahan perceived the usher. He went over to Mrs. Kearney and spoke to her earnestly. While they were speaking, the noise of the organ grew louder. Mr. O'Lahan became very red and excited. He spoke volubly, but Mrs. Kearney said curtly at intervals, "She won't go on. You must get her 8 guineas." Mr. O'Lahan pointed desperately towards the hall, where the audience were clapping and stamping. He appealed to Mr. Kearney and Kathleen. Mr. Kearney continued to stroke his beard. Kathleen looked down, moving the point of her new shoe. "Well, not our fault," Mrs. Kearney repeated. "She won't go out on without her money." After a swift struggle of tongues, Mr. O'Lahan hobbled out in haste. The room was silent, and the strain of the silence had become somewhat painful. Miss Ely said to the baritone, "Have you seen Mrs. Pat Campbell this week?" The baritone had not seen her, but had been told that she was very fine. The conversation went no further. The first tenor bent his head and began to count the links of a gold chain which was extended across his waist. Smiling and humming random notes to observe the effect of the silence. From time to time everyone glanced at Mrs. Kearney. noise in the auditorium had risen to a clamour, and Mr. Fitzpatrick burst into it, followed by Mr. Walleran, all panting. Clamping and stamping in the hall were punctuated by whistling. Mr. Fitzpatrick had a few banknotes in his hand. He held out 4 into Miss Kearney's hand. Mrs. Kearney said she would get the other half at the end. Mrs. Kearney said, "This is 4 shillings short." Kathleen gathered her stuff and said, "Now, Mr. Kearney," the first time. Was shaking like an aspen. The singer and the accompanist went out together. The noise in the hall died away. There were a pause of a few seconds, and the piano was open. The first part of the concert was very successful. The second had a clean tone. The poor lady sang Killarney in a bodiless gospel with all the old-fashioned mannerisms of an intonation, pronunciation, she believed lesson, and elegance to her singing. She looked as if she had been resurrected from an old stage wardrobe, and the cheaper parts of the hall made fun of her high wailing notes. The first tenor and the contralto brought down the house. Kathleen played a selection of Irish airs, which were generously applauded. The last part closed with a stirring patriotic recitation delivered by a young lady wearing amateur theatrics. It was deservedly applauded, and, when it were ended, the men went out for the interval concert. All this time the dressing room arrived in sight. In one corner were Mr. Olahan, Mr. Fitzpatrick, Miss Bairn, 2 of the stewards, the baritone, the bass, Mr. O'Madden and Mr. O'Madden. Mr. O'Madden said the most scandalous exhibition he had ever witnessed. Miss Kathleen Kearney's musical career was ended in Dublin after that, he said. The baritone was asked what did he think of Miss Kearney's or Mrs. Kearney's conduct. He said he didn't like to say anything. He had been paid his money and wished to be at peace with them. However, he said that Mrs. Kearney might have taken the artiste. The stewards and the secretaries debated hotly as to what should be done when the interval came. "I agree with Miss Bairn," said Mr. O'Madden. "Pay her nothing." In another corner of the room were Mrs. Kearney and her husband, Mr. Bell, Miss Ely, and the young lady who liked to recite the Patriotic Piece. Mrs. Kearney said the committee had treated her scandalously. She had spared neither trouble nor expense, and this was how she was repaid. They thought they had only a girl to please with them, and that therefore they could ride roughshod with her. She would show them their respect. They wouldn't have dared to have treated her like that if she had been a man. She would see that her daughter got her right. She wouldn't be fooled. They didn't pay her the last farthing. She would make the Dublin ring. Of course she was sorry for the sake of her peace. What else could she do? He appealed to the second tenor. He said he thought she had not been well treated. Then she appealed to Miss Ely. Miss Ely wanted to join the other group. She did not like to do so. She was a great friend of Kathleen. The Kearneys had often invited her to their house. As soon as the parts were ended, Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Olahan went over to Mrs. Kearney and told her that the other 4 guineas would be paid after the committee meeting on the following Tuesday, and that, in case her daughter did not play for the second part, the committee would consider the contract broken and would pay nothing. "I haven't seen any committee," said Mrs. Kearney. "My daughter has her contract. She can get £4.80 into her hand for a foot she won't put on that map." "I'm surprised at you, Mrs. Kearney," said Mr. Olahan. "I never thought you would treat us this way." "And what way did you treat me?" asked Mrs. Kearney. Her face was inundated with angry colour, and she looked as if she would attack someone with her hand. "I'm asking for my rights," he said. "You might have some sense of decency," said Mr. Olahan. "Might I indeed? When I ask when my daughter is going to be paid, I can't get a civil answer." She tossed her head and assumed a haughty voice. "You must speak to the secretary. It's not my business. I'm a great fellow for all the diddle I do." "I thought you were a lady," said Mr. Olahan, walking away from her abruptly. After that, Mrs. Kearney's conduct was condemned on all rounds. Everyone approved of what the committee had done. She stood at the door, haggard with rage, arguing with her husband and daughter, gesticulating. She waited until it was time for the second part to begin, in the hopes that the secretaries would approach her. Miss Ely had kindly consented to play 1 or 2 accompaniments. Mrs. Kearney had to stand aside to allow the baritone and his accompaniment to pass up to the platform. She stood still for an instant, like an angry stone image, and when the first notes of the drum struck her ear, she caught up her daughter's cloak and said to her husband, "Get a cab." He went out at once. Mrs. Kearney wrapped the cloak round her daughter and followed her. As she passed through the doorway, she stopped and glared into Mr. Olahan's face. "I'm not done with you yet," she said. "I'm done with you," said Mr. Olahan. Kathleen followed her mother meekly. Mr. Olahan began to pace up and down the room in order to cool himself and pick up the skin on fire. "That's a nice lady," he said. "Ah, she's nice." "You did the proper thing, Olahan," said Mr. O'Madden, poising from his umbrella in a poodle. And that's the end of a mother. inclined to agree with Mrs. Gurney. So, if someone's shifty with you about payment, you're well within your rights to worry about it and not trust them. They seem to rely awfully on their sort of name. It's not uncommon for artists to go unpaid. I'm sure. It does indeed seem strange to me that everyone took their side. The secretaries of this committee. Makes me think that there was something to the fact that they only thought they could ride roughshod over it because she was a woman. I wasn't really sure when this was written. First published in 1940. So yeah, I suppose that would have definitely been a factor in the place. I mean, you can tell it's an old-fashioned sort of book for the nature of much kind of relationship, marriage, the role of the judge. I'm not really sure. I mean, I do think they were taking advantage. At the same time, the way she's portrayed, it does feel like you're supposed to see her as being a bit ridiculous. But that's the point, maybe both sides is in the wrong. And there's no real moral person in the story. In the right because she's cheated, but in the wrong because she's interfering with this concert, which is the livelihood of all these other people. And vice versa, they're in the wrong because they're pushing to cheat her. They're in the right because they're putting on this show of art. I don't know. I really don't. I still think I stand by Mrs. Kearney on that one, much as I kept saying Miss Kearney. But, yeah. I'm not entirely sure. Still, there is one thing I'm certainly aware of. And that's that it's almost been an hour, and Lamp owes me a little throat thing, a throat pasta. Which will be the first thing that I've eaten that is not a piece of conjured cheese in going on 3 years. So, let's be having it. Oh! Ooh. It doesn't. Is it showing up? No. No, you can't see it. Oh, no. Well, I assure you it is. Yeah, It tastes medicinal. I'll say that correctly. That being said, it does not taste like cheese, which is a very strong point in its favour. It's a little like hard sweet with some sort of herbal stuff in it. I'm not sure. It doesn't taste especially good. I call it an hard sweet because that's the texture. It's not like sweet in particular. It mostly tastes of herbs or something. But my throat does immediately feel better. Can't be complaining. I have a quick drink of water. Then I don't know how long this is going to take me to eat. And it's sort of just it's supposed to melt on my tongue, I think. I suppose I'll get back to it. We'll press on. I mean, we'll at least finish Dubliners, right? So. Grace. 2 gentlemen who were in the lavatory at the time tried to lift him up. They were quite helpless. He lay curled up at the foot of the stairs down which he had fallen. They succeeded in turning him over. His hat had rolled a few yards away. His clothes were smeared with the filth and ooze the floor on which he had left, face downward. His eyes were closed. He breathed with a great grunting. A thin stream of blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. These 2 gentlemen, one the curatus, carried him up the stairs and laid him down against them, again on the floor of the bar. In 2 minutes he was surrounded by a ring of men. The manager of the bar asked everyone who he was, and who was with him. No one knew who he was. One of the curatus said he had served the gentleman with a small rum. Was he by himself? No, sir. There was two gentlemen. Where are they? No one knew. A voice said, give him air. He's fainting. The ring on looked distended and closed again, elastically. A dark medal of blood had formed itself near the man's head, the desolated floor. The manager, alarmed by the grey colour of the man's face, sent for a policeman. His collar were unfastened, his necktie undone. He opened his eyes for an instant, sighed, and closed them again. One of the gentlemen who had carried him upstairs held a dinged silk hat in his hand. The manager asked repeatedly, did no one know who the injured man was, or where his friends had gone? The door of the bar opened, an immense constable entered. The crowd, which had followed him down the laneway, collected outside the door, rather than look in through the glass panel. The manager at once began to narrate what he knew. The constable, a young man with the thick, immobile features, listened. He moved his head slowly to the right and left, and listened. Oh, and from the manager, the person. He moved his head slowly to the right and left, from the manager to the person on the floor, as if he feared to be the victim of some delusion. Then he drew off his glove, produced a small book from his waist, lit the lead of his pencil, and made ready to indict. He asked, in a suspicious provincial accent, who is the man? What's his name and address? A young man in a cycling suit cleared his way through the ring of bystanders. He knelt down promptly beside the injured man and called for water. The constable knelt down also to help. The young man washed the blood from the injured man's mouth and then called for some brandy. The constable repeated the order in an authoritative voice until a curate came running with a glass. The brandy was forced down the man's throat. In a few seconds he opened his eyes and looked about him. He looked at the circle of faces and then, understanding, strove to rise to his feet. "You're all right now?" asked the young man in the cycling suit. "Sure, it's nothing," said the injured man, trying to stand up. We're up to his feet. The manager said something about a hospital. Some of the bystanders gave advice. The battered silk hat were placed upon the man's head. The constable asked, "Where do you live?" The man, without answering, began to twirl the ends of his moustache. He made light of his accent. It were nothing, he said, only an embarrassment. He spoke very thickly. "Where do you live?" repeated the constable. The man said they were to get a cab for him. While the point was being debated, a tall, agile gentleman of fair complexion, wearing a long yellow ulster, came from the far end of the bar. Seeing the spectacle, he called out, "Hello, Tom, old man, what's the trouble?" "Just nothing." The newcomer surveyed the deplorable figure before him, and then turned to the constable, saying, "It's all right, constable, I'll see him home." The constable touched his helmet and answered, "All right, Mr. Power." "Come now, Tom," said Mr. Power, taking his friend by the arm. "No bones broken? What, can you walk?" The young man in the cycling suit took the man by the other arm, and the crowd divided. "How did you get yourself into this mess?" asked Mr. Power. "The gentleman fell down the stairs," said the young man. "I area much obliged to you, sir," said the injured man. "Not at all. Now we have a little. Not now, not now." The three men left the bar. The crowd sifted through the doors into the lane bar. The manager brought the constable to the stairs to inspect the scene of the accident. They agreed that the gentleman must have missed his foot. The customers returned to the counter, and a curate set about removing the traces of blood from the floor. When they came out into Grafton Street, Mr. Power whistled for an outside. The injured man said again, as well as he could, "I very much obliged to you, sir. I hope we'll eat again. Your name is Cannon." The shock and the incipient pain had partly sobered him. "Don't mention it," said he. They shook hands. Mr. Kernan was hoisted onto the car, and while Mr. Power was giving directions to the carman, he expressed his gratitude to the young man and regretted they could not have a little drink together. "Another time," said the young man. The car drove off towards Westmoreland Street. As it passed the ballast office, the clock showed 9:30. A keen east wind hit them, blowing from the mouth of the river. Mr. Kernan was huddled together with cold. His friend asked him to tell how the accident had happened. "I ain't answered. I only as a showed." The other leaned over the wheel of the car and peered into Mr. Kernan's mouth. He could not see. He struck a match and shot at it in the shoulder of his hand, and peered again into the mouth, which Mr. Kernan opened a few. The swaying movements of the car brought the match to and from the open mouth. The lower teeth and gums were covered in clotted blood. A minute piece of the tongue seemed to have been bitten off. The match was blown out. "That's ugly." "Just nothing," pulling the collar of his filthy coat across his neck. Mr. Kernan was a commercial traveller of the old school, which believed in the dignity of his calling. He had never been seen in the city without a silk hat of some decency, a pair of gaiters. By grace of these two articles of clothing, he said, a man could always pass muster. He carried on the tradition of his Napoleon, the great black white, memory he evoked tarnished by a legendary memory. Modern business methods had spared him only so far as to allow him a little office in Crow Street, on the window blind of which was written the name of his firm, the address, London, E.C., and the mantelpiece of his little office, in the medallion of canisters was drawn up, and on the table before the window stood 4 or 5 china bowls, which were usually half full of black liquid. In these bowls Mr. Kernan tasted tea. He took a mouthful, drew it up, saturated his palate with it, and then spat it forth into the grate, and he paused to judge. Mr. Power, a much younger man, was employed in the Royal Irish Constabulary Office in Dublin Castle. The arc of his social rise intersected the arc of his friend's decline. Mr. Kernan's decline was mitigated by the fact that certain of those friends who had known him at his highest point of success still esteemed him as a character. Mr. Power was one of these friends. His inexplicable debts were a byword in the circle. He was a debonair young man. The car halted before a small house in the Glasnevin Road. Mr. Kernan was out with the hours. His wife put in the bed, while Mr. Power sat downstairs in the kitchen, asking the children when they went to school and what book they were in. The children, 2 girls and a boy, conscious of their father's helplessness and their mother's absence, began some horseplay with him. He was surprised at their manners and at their accent, and his brow grew thoughtful. After a while, Mr. Kernan entered the kitchen, exclaiming, "Such a sight!" Mrs. Kernan entered the kitchen, exclaiming, "Such a sight! What would do for himself one day, and that's the ollies of it all. That's the only all. He's been drinking since Friday." Mr. Powell was careful to explain to her that he was not responsible. He had come on the scene by the merest accident. Mrs. Kernan, remembering Mr. Powell's good offices during domestic quarrels, with his many small but opportune loans, said, "Oh, you needn't tell me that, Mr. Powers. I know you're a friend of his, not like some of those others who does buy them. Does be good. You're all right so long as he has money in his pocket, keeping out for his wife and family. Nice friends. Who was he with tonight, I'd like to know?" Mr. Powers shook his head and said nothing. "I'm so sorry, Mr. I've nothing to be asked of yet. If you wait a minute, I'll send around to Fogarty's at the corner." Mr. Powers stood up. "We were waiting for him to come home with the money. He never seems to think he has a home at all." "Oh, no, Miss Kernan," said Mr. Powers. "We'll make it down over if you leave. I'll talk to Mark. He's the man. We'll come here one of these nights and talk it over." She saw him to the door. The carman was stumping up and down the footpath, putting his arms to warm himself. "It's very kind of you to bring it home," she said. "Oh," said Mr. Powers. He got up on the car. As he drove off, he raised his hat to her gaily. "We'll make a new man of him," he said. "Good night, Miss Kernan." Mrs. Kernan's puzzled eyes watched the car till it was out of sight. Then she withdrew them, went to the house, and emptied her husband's pockets. She was an active, practical woman of middle age. Not long before, she had celebrated a silver wedding and renewed her intimacy with her husband by waltzing with him to Mr. Power's accompaniment. In the days of courtship, Mr. Kernan had seemed not ungallant figure, and she still hurried to the chapel door whenever a wedding was recorded, and, seeing the bridal pair, recalled with vivid pleasure how she had passed out the star in the sea church, standing up, even on the arm of a jovial well-fed man, dressed smartly in a frock coat and lavender trousers, and carried a silk hat gracefully balanced on his other arm. After 3 weeks, she had found the wife's life irksome, and later on, as she was beginning to find it unbearable, she had become a mother. The part of mother presented to her no insufferable difficulties. 25 years she had kept house shrewdly for her husband. Her 2 eldest sons were launched. One was in a draper's shop in Glasgow, and the other was a clerk at a tea merchant in Belfast. They were good sons who wrote regularly and sometimes sent her money. The other children were still in school. Mr. Kernan sent a letter to his office next day and remained in bed. She made beef tea for him and scolded him roundly. She accepted his frequent attendance as part of the climate. He healed him beautifully whenever he was sick, and always tried to make him eat at breakfast. There were worse husbands. He had never been violent since the boys had grown up, and she knew that he would walk to the end of Thomas Street and back again, even a small order. 2 nights after his friends came to see him, she brought them up to his bedroom. 2 nights after, his friends came to see him. She brought them up to his bedroom. The area which was impregnated with a personal odor gave them chairs and fire. Mr. Kern's tongue, occasional sting and pain of which had made him somewhat irritable during the day, became more polite. He sat propped up in the bed by pillows, and the little colour in his puffy cheeks made them resemble more cigarettes. He apologised to his guests for the disorder of them, at the same time looked at them a little proudly, with a veteran's pride. He were quite unconscious that he was a victim of plot which his friends, Mr. Cunningham, and Mr. McCoy and Mr. Powell, disclosed to Mrs. Cannon from the parlour. The idea had been Mr. Powell's, and its development was entrusted to Mr. Cunningham. Mr. Kernan came of Protestant stock, and, though he had been converted to the Catholic faith at the time of his marriage, he had not been in the pale of the church for 20 years. He was fond, moreover, of giving side thrusts to Catholicism. Mr. Cunningham was a very man for such a case. He was an elder colleague of Mr. Powell. His own domestic life were not very happy. People had great sympathy with him, for it was known that he had married an unpresentable woman who was an incurable drunkard. He had set up the house for her 6 times, and each time she had torn the furniture off. Everyone had respect for warm-hearted Cunningham. He was a thoroughly sensible man, influential and intelligent, displayed a human knowledge, natural astuteness, particularised by long association with places in the police, sports, had been tempered by brief immersions in the walks of general philosophy. He was well informed, his friends bowed to his opinion, and considered that his face was like Shakespeare. When the plot had been disclosed to her, Mrs. Cannon said, "I leave it all in your hands, Mr. Cunningham." After a quarter of a century of married life, he had very few illusions to her. Religion for her was unhappy, and she suspected that a man of her husband's age would not change greatly before death. She was tempted to see a curious appropriateness in that, and, but that she did not wish to seem bloody-minded, she would have told the gentleman that Mr. Cannon's tongue would not suffer by being shortened. However, Mr. Cunningham was a capable man, and religion was religion. The scheme might do good, and at least do no harm. Her beliefs were not extravagant. She believed steadily in the sacred art, as the most generally useful of all Catholic devotion, and approved of the sacrament. Her faith was bounded by her kitchen, but, if she were to put to it, she could believe also in the Banshee and the Holy Ghost. The gentleman began to talk of the accident. Mr. Cunningham said that he had once known a similar case. A man of 70 had bitten off a piece of his tongue during an epileptic fit, and the tongue had filled in again, but no one could see a trace of the bite. "Well, I'm not 70, the infant. God forbid," said Mr. Cunningham. "Does it pain you now?" asked Mr. McCoy. Mr. McCoy had been at one time a tenor of some reputation. His wife, who had been a soprano, still taught young children to play the piano at that time. His line of life had not been the shortest distance between two times. For short periods he had been driven to live by his whips. He had been a clerk in the Midlands Railway, canvasser for advertisements for the Irish Times, for the Freemasons Journal, town traveller for a coal firm, a commission, a private inquiry agent, a clerk in the office of the sub-sheriff, and had recently become secretary to the city coroner. His new office made him professionally interested in Mr. Kernan's case. "Pain? Not much," answered Mr. Kernan. "It's so sickening. I feel as if I wanted to retch off." "That's the booze," said Mr. Kernan. "No, I think I caught cold in the car. Something keeps coming into my throat. Phlegm or mucus. It keeps coming up and down my throat. Sickening thing." Yes, Mr. Kernan. That's the thorax." He looked at Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Powell, at the same time with an air of challenge. Mr. Cunningham nodded his head rapidly, and Mr. Powell said, "Ah, well, all's well that ends well. I'm very much obliged to you, old man," he endured. Mr. Powell raised his hand. "Those other 2 fellows I was with. Who were you with?" asked Mr. Cunningham. "A chap, I don't know his name. Damn it, now, a chap with sandy hair. And who else?" "Arthur." Mr. Cunningham made them. People were silent. It was known that the speaker had secret sources of information. In this case, the monosyllable had a moral intention. Mr. Arthur sometimes formed one of a little detachment, which left the city shortly after noon on Sundays, for the purpose of arriving as soon as possible at some public house on the outskirts of the city, where its members duly quaffed and qualified themselves as bona fide travellers. His fellow travellers had never consented to overlook his origin. He had begun life as an obscure financier, but lent small sums of money and worked at usurious interest. Later on, he had become partner of a very fat, short gentleman, Mr. Goldberg, from the Liffey Loan Bank. Though he had never embraced more than the Jewish ethic code, his fellow Catholics, whenever they had smarted a person or by proxy undetected his actions, spoke of him bitterly as an Irish Jew and an illiterate, and saw divine disapproval of the usury made manifest in the person of his idiot son. Other times they remembered his good point. I wonder, where did he go? He wished the details of the incident remain vague. He wished his friends to think that there had been some mistake. Mr. Arthur and he had missed each other. His friends, who knew quite well Mr. Arthur's manner and drinking, were silent. Mr. Power said again, all's well that ends well. Mr. Kernan changed the subject at once. That were a decent young chap, a medical fellow, he said. Only for him? Oh, only for him. It might have been a case of 7 days without an option of 5. Yes, Mr. Kernan. I remember now there was a policeman, a decent young fellow, it seemed. How did it all happen? It happened that we worked the Lutheran film, said Mr. Cunningham gravely. Trilbo, said Mr. Kernan equally gravely. I suppose you squared the constable, Jack, said Mr. McCoy. Mr. Power did not relish the use of his Christian. We were not straight-laced, and could not forget that Mr. McCoy had recently made a crusade in search of Belize's portmanteaus to enable Mrs. McCoy to fulfill imaginary engagements in the country. More than he resented the fact that he had been victimised, he resented such low playing to the game. He answered the question, therefore, as if Mr. Kernan answered it. The narrative made Mr. Kernan indignant. He was keenly conscious of his citizenship, wished to live with his city on terms mutually honourable, and resented any affront put upon him by those whom he called country bumpkins. Is this what we pay rates for? He asked. Feed and clothe those ignorant boss stew. And there's nothing else. Mr. Cunningham laughed. He was a castle official only during office hours. How could there be anything else, Tom? He said. He assumed a thick provincial accent, said with a tone of command. 65, catch your cabbage. Everyone laughed. Mr. McCoy, who wanted to enter the conversation by any door, pretended that he never heard the story. Mr. Cunningham said, "It's supposed, they say, you know, to take place in the depot, where they get these thundering big country fellows, Almadans, you know, drill. The sergeant makes them stand in a row against the walls and hold up their plates." He illustrated the story by grotesque gestures. At dinner, you know, then there's a bloody big gold bowl of cabbage before him on the table, a bloody big spoon like a shovel. He takes up a wad of cabbage on the spoon and pegs it across the room, and the poor devils have to try and catch it on their plates. 65, catch your cabbage. Everyone laughed again. Mr. Kernan was somewhat indignant still. He thought of writing a letter to the paper. "These yahoos coming up here," he said, "they can boss the thing. I needn't tell you, Martin, what kind of men they are." Mr. Cunningham gave a qualified assessment. "It's like everything else in the world. You get some bad ones, you get some good ones." "Oh yes, you get some good ones, I admit," said Mr. Kernan, satisfied. "Better have nothing to say to me, well, that's my opinion." Mr. Kernan entered the room, or Mrs. Kernan entered the room, and placing a tray on the table, said, "Help yourselves, gentlemen." Mr. Power stood up to officiate, offering her his chair. She declined it, saying she was ironing downstairs, and after having exchanged a nod with Mr. Cunningham, behind Mr. Power's back, prepared to leave the room. Her husband called out to her, "And have you nothing for me, ducky?" "Oh, you, the back of my hand for you," said Mrs. Kernan, tartly. Her husband called after her, "Nothing for poor little hubby?" He assumed such a comical face and voice, the distribution of the bottles of stout, took place amid general merriment. The gentlemen drank from their glasses, set the glasses on the table, and paused. Then Mr. Cunningham turned towards Mr. Powell and said, casually, "On Thursday night, you said, Jack?" "Thursday, yeah," said Mr. Powell. "Right," said Mr. Cunningham promptly. "We can meet in Mahoney," said Mr. McCoy. "That'll be the most convenient place. It mustn't be late," said Mr. Powell earnestly, "because it's sure to be crammed to the doors. We meet at 7:30, said Mr. McCoy. "Right-o," said Mr. Cunningham. 7:30 at Morley's beer." There was a short silence. Mr. Kernan waited to see whether he would be taken with his friend's confidence, and he asked, "What's in the wind?" "Oh, it's nothing," said Mr. Cunningham. "It's only a little matter that we were arranging about for Thursday." "The opera, is it?" asked Mr. Kernan. No, said Mr. Cunningham. "It's just a little spiritual matter. Ah, said Mr. There was silence again, and Mr. Power said, point blank, "To tell you the truth, Tom, we're going to make a retreat." "Yeah, that's it," said Mr. Cunningham. "Jack and I and McCoy here, we're all going to wash the pot." He upped the metaphor with a certain homely energy, and, encouraged by his own voice, proceeded. "You see, we may as well admit we're a nice collection of scoundrels, one and all. I say one and all," he added with gruff charity, turning to Mr. Power. "Own up now." "I own up," said Mr. Power. "And I own up," said Mr. McCoy. "So we're going to wash the pot together," said Mr. Cunningham. A thought seemed to strike him. He turned suddenly to the invalid and said, "You know what, Tom? It's just occurred to me. You might join in and we'd have a four-handed reel." "Good idea," said Mr. Power. "Four of us together." Mr. Kernan was silent. The proposal conveyed very little meaning to his mind, but, understanding that some spiritual agencies were about to concern themselves with his behalf, he thought he owed it to his dignity to show a stiff neck. He took no part in the conversation for a long while, but listened, with an air of calm enmity, as friends discussed the Jesuit. "I haven't such a bad opinion of the Jesuits," he said, intervening at length. "They're an educated order. I believe they mean well too." "They're the grandest order in the church, Tom," said Mr. Cunningham. "The general of the Jesuits stands next to the Pope." "There's no mistake about it," said Mr. McCoy. "If you want a thing well done, and no flies about it, you go to a Jesuit. There the boys have influence. I tell you, case in point. The Jesuits are a fine body of men," said Mr. Power. "It's a curious thing," said Mr. Cunningham, "about the Jesuits' order. Every other order of the church has to be reformed at some time or other, but the Jesuit order was never once reformed. It never fell away." "Is that so?" asked Mr. McCoy. "That's a fact," said Mr. Cunningham. "That's history." "Look at their church too," said Mr. Power. "Look at the congregation there. The Jesuits cater for the upper classes," said Mr. McCoy. "Of course," said Mr. Power. "Yes," said Mr. Cunningham. "That's why I have a feeling for them. Some of those secular priests, ignorant, bumptious, they're all good men, Mr. Cunningham, each in his own way. The Irish priesthood was honoured all the world over." "Ah, yes," said Mr. Cunningham. "Unlike some of the other priesthoods on the continent," said Mr. McCoy, unworthy of the name. "Perhaps you're right," said Mr. Cunningham. "Of course I'm right," said Mr. Cunningham. "I haven't been in the world all this time, and have seen most sides of it without being a judge of character." The gentleman drank again, one following another's example. Mr. Kernan seemed to be weighing something in his mind. You were impressed. He had a high opinion of Mr. Cunningham as a judge of character, and a reader of faces. He asked for particulars. "Oh, it's just a retreat, no," said Mr. Cunningham. "By the Purton's given. It's for businessmen, you know. You won't be too hard on Miss Tom," said Mr. Power persuasively. "By the Purton? By the Purton," said the invalid. "Oh, you must know him, Tom," said Mr. Cunningham, stoutly. "One jolly fellow. He's a man of the world, like ourselves." "Ah, yes, I think I know him. Rather red face, tall. That's the man. And tell me, Mark, is he a good preacher?" "No, it's not exactly a sermon, you know. It's just kind of a friendly talk, you know, in a common sense way." Mr. Kernan deliberated. Mr. McCoy said, "Father Tom Burt, that was the boy." "Oh, Father Tom Burt," said Mr. Kernan. "That were a born orator. You ever hear him, Tom?" "Did I ever hear him?" said the infant. "No, rather I heard him. They say he wasn't much of a theologian," Mr. Cunningham. "Is that so?" said Mr. McCoy. "Of course, nothing wrong, you know. Only sometimes they say he didn't preach what quite awful ones." "Ah, they were a splendid man," said Mr. McCoy. "I heard him once," Mr. Kernan continued. "I forget the subject of his discourse now. Croft and I were in the back of the pit, you know, the bodies." "Yes, the back near the door. I forget now what. Oh, yes, from the Pope. The late Pope, I remember it well. Upon my word, it was magnificent, the style of the oratory. And his voice. God, hadn't he a voice? Prisoner of the Vatican, he called him. I remember Croft saying to me when we come out, 'He's an Orangeman, Croft, isn't he?' 'Of course he is,' said Mr. Bell. 'And a damn decent Orangeman, too. We went to Butler's on Moore Street, good faith. They were generally moved, tell you God's truth. I remember well his words. Kernan, he said, we worship at different altars, he said, but our belief is the same. Struck me a very well put. There's a good deal in that, said Mr. Bell. There used to always be crowds of Protestants in the chapel when Father Tom was preaching. There's not much difference between us, said Mr. McCoy. We both believe in the Redeemer, and they don't believe in the Pope and the Mother of God. Of course, said Mr. Kernan quietly and quick. Our religion is the religion, the old original faith. Not a doubt of it, said Mr. Kernan. Mrs. Kernan came in the door of the bedroom and announced, Here's a visitor for you. Who is it? Mr. Fogarty. Ah, come in, come in. A pale oval face came forward into the light. The arch of its fair trailer moustache repeated, and the fair eyebrows looked above pleasantly astonished eyes. Mr. Fogarty were a modest grocer. He had failed in business in the licensed house in the city because his financial condition had constrained him to tie himself to second-class distillers and brewers. He had opened a small shop on Glasnevin Road, where, he flattered himself, his manners would ingratiate him with the housewives of the district. He bore himself with a certain grace, complimented little children, and spoke with a neat enunciation. He were not without culture. Mr. Fogarty brought a gift with him, a half-pint of special whisky. He inquired politely for Mr. Kernan, placed his gift on the table, and sat down with the company on equal terms. Mr. Kernan appreciated the gift all the more, since he was aware that there were small accounts of groceries unsettled between him and Mr. Fogarty. He said, "I wouldn't doubt you, old man. Open that, Jack, will you?" Mr. Power again officiated. Glasses were rinsed, and 5 small measures of whisky were poured out. This new influence enlivened the conversation. Mr. Fogarty, sitting on a small area of the chair, was especially interested. Pope Leo XIII, one of the lights of the age. His great idea, you know, was the union of the Latin and Greek churches. That was the aim of his life. I often heard he was one of the most intellectual men in Europe. I mean, apart from being Pope. So he was, if not the most. His motto, you know, Pope, was lux upon lux, light upon light. No, I think you're wrong there. It was lux in tenebris, I think. Light in darkness. Oh yes, Mr. Tenebrae. Allow me, said Mr. Gavin. It was lux upon lux. And Pius IX, his predecessor's motto was crux upon crux, cross upon cross, to show the difference between their two pontificates. The inference was allowed. Mr. Cunningham continued. Pope Leo, you know, was a great scholar and a poet. He had a strong face, Mr. Cunningham. Yes, Mr. Cunningham, he wrote Latin poetry. Was that so, said Mr. Cunningham? Mr. McCoy tasted his whisky contentedly and shook his head with a double intention, saying, "That's no joke, I can tell you." "We didn't learn that, Tom," said Mr. Power, following Mr. McCoy's example, when we went to the penny-a-week school. There was many a good man went to the penny-a-week school with a sod of turf under his oxter, said Mr. Kernan, senselessly. The old system was the best. Plain honest education. Only a modern trumpery. Quite right, said Mr. Power. No superfluities, said Mr. Power. He enunciated the word, and drank bravely. I remember reading, said Mr. Cunningham, that one of Pope Leo's poems was on the invention of a photograph, in Latin, of course. On the photograph, exclaimed Mr. Cunningham. Yes, said Mr. Cunningham. He also drank from the cup. Do you know, said Mr. McCoy, isn't the photograph wonderful when you can't think of it? Oh, of course, said Mr. Cunningham. Great minds can see things. As the poet says, great minds are very near to madness, said Mr. Cunningham. Mr. Kernan seemed to be troubled in mind. He made an effort to recall the Protestant theology and some thorny points, and in the end addressed Mr. Cunningham. Tell me, Martin, when saw the popes, of course not our present man, his predecessor, but some of the old popes, not exactly, you know, up on the knock? There was a silence, Mr. Cunningham said. Oh, of course, there was some bad lot. The astonishing thing is this. Not one of them, not the biggest drunkard, not the most out-and-out ruffian, but one of them ever preached ex cathedra a word of false doctrine. Now, isn't that an astonishing thing? That is, Mr. Cunningham. Yes, because when the Pope speaks ex cathedra, Mr. Cunningham explained, he is infallible. Infallible. Yes, Mr. Cunningham. Oh, I know about the infallibility of the Pope. I remember I was younger now. Mr. Fogarty interrupted. He took up the bottle and helped the others to a little more. Mr. McCoy, seeing that there was not enough to go round, believed that he had not finished his first dish. The others accepted under protest. The light musical whisky forming in the glasses made an agreeable interlude. What's that you were saying, Tom? Mr. McCoy. Papal infallibility, Mr. Cunningham. That was the greatest scene in the whole history of the church. What was that, Master Martin? Mr. Cunningham held up 2 thick fingers. In the sacred college, you know, cardinals and archbishops and bishops, there were 2 men who held out against it. The others were all for it. The old conclave, except these 2, was unanimous. No, they wouldn't have it. Ah, said Mr. McCoy. They were a German cardinal by the name of Dowling, Dowling was no German, that's a surefire, said Mr. Power laughing. Well, this great German cardinal, wherever his name was one. The other was John McCann. What? Said Mr. McKernan. Was it John of Tuam? Are you sure of that now? Asked Mr. Conway, dubiously. I thought it was some Italian or American. John of Tuam was the man. He drank, and the other gentlemen followed his lead. And he resumed. There they were at it, all the cardinals and bishops and archbishops from all the ends of the earth, and these two fighting dogs, the devil until the last pope himself stood up and declared the infallibility of dogma of the church, ex-cathedra. From the very moment John McHale, who had been arguing against it, stood up and shouted out with the voice of a lion, Credo, I believe. Credo, said Mr. Cunningham. That showed the faith he had. He submitted the moment the Pope spoke. And what about Dowling? Asked the German cardinal wouldn't submit. He left the church. Mr. Cunningham's words had built up a vast image of the church in the mind of his hearers. His deep raucous voice had thrilled them to utter the word of belief and submission. When Mrs. Kernan came in the room, drying her hands, she came in with solemn company. She did not disturb the silence, leaned over the rail and put her bed. I once saw John McHale, said Mr. Kernan, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. He turned towards his wife to be confirmed. I often told you that? Mrs. Kernan nodded. It was at the unveiling of Sir John Gray's statue. Edmund Dwyer Gray was speaking, blathering away. And there was this old fellow, proud-looking old chap, looking at him from under his bushy eyebrows. Mr. Kernan knitted his brows, lowering his head like an angry bull, glared at him. God, these guys, resuming his natural. I never saw such an iron man, he said. There is much to say. I have you properly taken, my lad. Yet now I like an order. None of the Greys were any good, Mr. Power. There were a pause again. Mr. Power turned to Mrs. Kernan and said with abrupt gravity, well, Mrs. Kernan, we're going to make your man here a good, holy, pious, and God-fearing Roman Catholic. Swept his arms round the company inclusively. We're all going to make a retreat together and confess our sins. God knows we want it badly. I don't mind, said Mr. Kernan, smiling a little nervously. Mrs. Kernan thought it would be wiser to conceal her satisfaction, so she said, I pity the poor priest that has to listen to your tale. Mr. Kernan's expression changed. If he doesn't like it, said Clinton, you can do the other thing. Just tell him my little tale of what? I'm such a bad fellow. Mr. Cunningham intervened promptly. We'll all renounce the devil, he said, together, not forgetting his works and pomp. Get behind me for hating, said Mr. Fogarty, laughing and looking at the others. Mr. Power said nothing. He felt completely outgeneraled. Pleased expression flickered across his face. All we have to do, said Mr. Cunningham, is to stand up with lighted candles in our hands and renew our baptism. I'll have to get the candle, Tom, said Mr. McCoy. Happy you do. Oh, said Mr. Cunningham, I must have a candle. Oh, yes. Nah, don't all, said Mr. Cunningham sensibly. I'll draw the line there. I'll do the job right enough. I'll do the retreat business and confession and all that business. No candles. Nah, don't know. I'll bar the candle. He shook his head with farcical gravity. Listen to that, said his wife. I'll bar the candle, said Mr. Kernan, conscious of having created an effect on his audience, and continuing to shake his head thoughtfully. I'll bar the magic lamp business. Everyone laughed heartily. There's a nice Catholic for you, said his wife. No candles, replied Mr. Kernan cheerfully. That's all. The transcript of the Jesuit church in Gardner Street were almost full, and still at every moment gentlemen entered from the side door and directed by the lay brother walked on tiptoe along the aisles until they found seating accommodation. The gentlemen were all well dressed and orderly. The light of the lamps of the church fell upon an assembly of black clothes and white collars, relieved here and there by tweeds and dark black pillars of green marble among the lugubrious canvas. The gentlemen sat in the benches and an inch their trousers slightly above their knees, and laid their hats in security. They sat well back and gazed formally at the distant speck of red light, which was suspended before the eye altar. On one of the benches near the pulpit sat Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Kernan. On the bench beside behind sat Mr. McCoy alone, and on the bench behind him sat Mr. Power and Mr. Fogarty. Mr. McCoy had tried unsuccessfully to find a place on the bench with the others, and when the party had settled down in the form of a quintet, he tried unsuccessfully to make a comic remark. As these had not been well received, he persisted. As he was sensible of the decorous atmosphere, and even he began to respond to the religious stimulus. In a whisper, Mr. Cunningham drew Mr. Kernan's attention to Mr. Harris. Moneylender, he sent some distance off. Went to Mr. Fanning, the registration agent and mayor maker of the city, who was sitting immediately under the pulpit beside one of the newly elected councillors of the ward. To the right sat old Michael Grimes, the owner of 3 pawnbroker shops, and Dan Ogan's nephew, who were up for the job of the town clerk. Farther in front sat Mr. Hendrick, the chief reporter of the Freeman's Journal, and poor O'Carroll, an old friend of Mr. Vernon's, who had been at one time a considerable commercial. Gradually, as he recognised familiar faces, Mr. Kernan began to feel more at home. His axe, which had been rehabilitated by his wife, rested upon his knee. Once or twice he pulled down his cuffs with one hand, and he held the brim of his hat lightly, firmly with the other hand. A powerful looking figure, the upper part of which was draped in white surplice, was observed to be struggling up into the pole. Simultaneously, the congregation unsettled, produced handkerchiefs, and knelt upon them with care. Mr. Kernan followed the general example. The priest's figure now stood upright in the pulpit, 2/3 of its bulk crowned by a massive red face, peering above the pulpit with the balustrade. Father Purdon knelt down, turned towards the red speck of light, and, covering his face with his hand, prayed. After an interval, he uncovered his face and rose. The congregation rose also, settled again on its benches. Mr. Kernan restored his hat to its original position on his knee, and presented an attentive face to the preacher. The preacher turned back, each wide sleeve of the surplice with an elaborate large gesture, and slowly surveyed the array of faces. Then he said, "For the children of this world are wiser in their generation than the children of light. Wherefore make unto yourselves friends out of mammon of inequity, so that when you die they may receive you into everlasting dwelling." Father Purdon developed the text with resonant assurance. It was one of the most difficult texts in all the scriptures, he said, to interpret properly. For a text which might seem to the casual observer at variance with the lofty morality elsewhere preached by Jesus Christ. But he told his hearers, the text seemed to him specially adapted for the guidance of those whose lot it was to lead the life of the world, and who yet wished to lead that life not in the manner of worldly, but were a text for businessmen and professional men. Jesus Christ, with his divine understanding of every cranny of our human nature, understood that all men were not called to the religious life. By far, the vast majority were forced to live in the world, and, to a certain extent, for the world. And in this sense, he designed to give them a word of counsel, setting before them as examples in the religious life those they very worshippers of mammon, who were all men the least solicitous in matters religious. He told his hearers that he was there that evening for no terrifying, no extravagant purpose, as a man of the world speaking to his fellow men. He came to speak to businessmen, and he would speak to them in a business-like way. If you might use the metaphor, he said, he was a spiritual accountant, and he wished each and every one of his hearers to open his books of his spiritual life, and see if they tallied accurately with his conscience. Jesus Christ were not an hard taskmaster. He understood our little failings, understood the weakness of our poor fallen nature, understood the temptations of this life. We might have had, we all have had from time to time, our temptations. We all had our failings. One thing only, he said, he would ask of his hearers, and that was, to be straight and manly with God. If their accounts tallied in every point, to say, well, I've verified my accounts, I find all well. But if, as might happen, there were some discrepancies to admit the truth, to be frank, and to say like a man, well, I have looked at my accounts, I find this wrong and this wrong. But with God's grace, I will rectify this and that, and I will set right my accounts. That's the end of grace. That's an odd one as well. I think again I find myself lacking certain confidence for this particular piece of work. I'll have a quick jiggle up here because it was quite long enough for it to go on, didn't it? Yeah, I think I'm lacking some confidence. I think there's a religious background there that I'm not terribly well acquainted with. I recognise some parts of it. I have some understanding of the idea of God and the Catholic Church, even a man that I don't know where I got this information from when it comes to it. But I think there is, I don't even necessarily know about a scholarly understanding of religion, but a cultural understanding of religion I think I'm lacking. there's some idea here of the nature of the church and the nature of, I think, church community, the intersection between Protestant and Catholic, and the nature of the city and the people living in it, that are fundamental to this text and that I lack an understanding of. Which again would very easily be remedied by a conversation with someone who had those understandings, but I have none available. So I must muddle on blindly, try and extend my own understanding to it. Or is that understanding made prove? Still, again, it's a very compelling text. And you have again, which I don't even know if maybe I'm saying is wrong about the interclass. Maybe it's just the characters that develop well. They have strong voices and strong appearances, even those characters who only appear very briefly. The young man who helps, which was the colonel at the start, and the constable who's described in broad terms. They're both still significant enough characters, striking enough characters, they stick in your mind. Not quite a clear picture of them, even though they played only very minor roles. I don't know, really. Still, I suppose I could reflect more on it, but I don't know much more to get out of it. It's interesting that this man has enough friends in his life that they would rally around him and try and pull him into the cloth, in some way save his soul, I suppose. Goes to show that even when a man is bedeviled by drink, attracted the throes of his own worst instincts, it's not necessarily that he was a bad man all along and had some fault of character. You can tell by it, friends who practically value him. He was at least once a good man. And they're still treasured by those community around him. Perhaps that's a lesson to be found in that. And the title too, grace. Not just the grace of God, to which they bring him, but the grace that he is shown by his friends, his community, by the people who surround him. And even at the lowest point of his life, they contrive to come together and bring him together with them, when there's something better. And that may be religion, which is its own problematic thing, but so too its community. And there's something to that as well, I'm sure. Still, I'm sure there's more that I'm missing as well. I'll have another quick drink here, and I'll get back into the last one, which is the longest one. This one runs about half again as long as that one, so it's probably going to take us a little while again. Especially if I'm trying to make that go slower and people understand and nice things. So do bear with me. I've decided I'm going to finish this one tonight. By Jove, I mean to do it. So. The dead. Lily, the caretaker's daughter, literally run off her. Hardly had she brought one gentleman into the little pantry behind the office on the ground floor, and helped him off with his overcoat, and the wheezy hall doorbell clanged again. She had to scamper along the bare hallway and let in another guest. It was well for her she had not to attend to the ladies also. Miss Kate and Miss Julia had thought of that, and had converted the bathroom upstairs into a ladies' dressing room. Miss Kate and Miss Julia were there, gossiping and laughing and fussing, walking after each other as they entered the stairs, peering down over the banister, and calling down to Lily to ask her who had come. It was always a great affair, the Mrs. Morkan's annual dance. Everybody who knew them came to it, members of the family, old friends of the family, members of Julia's choir, any of Kate's pupils that were grown up enough, and even some of Mary Jane's pupils too. Never once had it fallen flat. For years and years it had gone off in splendid style, as long as anyone could remember. Ever since Kate and Julia, after the death of their brother Pat, had left the house in Stony Banner, taken Mary Jane, her only niece, and lived with them in the dark courthouse on Usher's Island, the upper part of which they had rented to Mr. Fulham, the corn factor on the ground floor. That was a good 30 years ago for a day. Mary Jane, who was then a little girl in short clothes, and now now the main prop of the household. She had the organ in Haddington Road. She had been through the academy, gave a pupils' concert every year in the upper rooms of the Anton Concert Room. Many of her pupils belonged to the better class families on the Kingston and Dalton line. Old as they were, their aunts also did their share. Julia, though she was quite grey, was still the leading soprano in Adam and Eames. Kate, being too feeble to go about much, gave music lessons to beginners on the old square piano in the back. Lily, the caretaker's daughter, did housemaids' work for them. Though their life was modest, they believed in eating well, the best of everything: diamond bone sirloin, 3-shilling tea, the best bottled stout. But Lily seldom made a mistake in the orders, but she got on well with her three mistresses. They were fussy, after all. The only thing they would not stand were backups. Of course, they had good reason to be fussy on such a night, and then it was long after 10 o'clock, and yet there was no sign of Gabriel and his wife. Besides, they were dreadfully afraid that Freddie Malins might turn up screwed. They would not wish for worlds that any of Mary Jane's people should see him under the influence. And when it was like that, it was sometimes very hard to manage it. Freddie Malins always came late. They wondered what could be keeping Gabriel, and that was what brought them every 2 minutes to the banister to ask Lily if Gabriel or Freddie. "Oh, Mr. Conroy," said Lily to Gabriel when she opened the door for him. "Miss Kate and Miss Julia thought you would never come. Good night, Mr. Conroy, Mrs. Conroy." "Well, engaged they did," said Gabriel. "They forgot that my wife here takes 3 mortal hours to dress herself." He stood on the mat, scraping the snow from his galoshes, while Lily led his wife to the foot of the stairs and called out, "Miss Kate, here's Mrs. Conroy." Kate and Julia came toddling down the dark stairs at once. Both of them kissed Gabriel's wife and said she must be perished alive, and asked was Gabriel with them. "Here I am, right as the mail. I'm Kate. Go on up, I'll follow," called out Gabriel from the dark. He continued scraping his feet vigorously, while the 3 women went upstairs, laughing, to the ladies' dressing room. A light fringe of snow lay like a cape on the shoulders of his overcoat, and like toe caps on the boots of his galoshes. And as the buttons of his overcoat slipped with a squeaking noise through the snow-stiffened breeze, a cold, fragrant air from out of doors escaped from crevices and folds. "Is it snowing again, Mr. Conroy?" asked Lily. She had preceded him into the pantry to help him off with his overcoat. Gabriel smiled at the 3 syllables she had given his surname and glanced at her. She was a slim, growing girl, pale in complexion, with hay-coloured hair. The gas in the pantry made her look still paler. Gabriel had known her when she was a child and used to sit on the lower step nursing a ragdoll. "Yes, Lily, I think we're in for a night of it." Uh, he looked up at the pantry ceiling, which was shaking with the stamping and shuffling of feet on the floor above. Listened for a moment at the piano and then glanced at the girl, who was folding his overcoat carefully at the end of the shelf. "Tell me, Lily," he said with a tone, "do you still go to school?" "Oh, no, sir," she answered. "I've done school this year and more." "Oh, then," said Gabriel again, "I suppose we'll be going to your wedding one of these fine days with your young man, eh?" The girl glanced back at him over her shoulder and said with great bitterness, "The men that is now is only all palaver and what they can get out of you." Gabriel coloured as if he felt he had made a mistake, and, without looking at her, kicked off his galoshes and looked actively with his muffler at his patent leather shoes. He was a stout, tallish young man. The high colour of his cheeks pushed up even to his forehead, and scattered itself in a few formless patches of pale red, and on his hairless face there scintillated restlessly the polished lens and the bright rims of his glasses, which screened his delicate and restless eyes. His glossy black hair was parted in the middle, crossed in a long curve behind his ears, but curled slightly into the groove left on his hat. When he had flickered lustre into his shoes, he stood up and pulled his waistcoat down more tightly on his plump body. Then he took a coin rapidly from his pocket. "Oh, Lily," he said, thrusting it in there. "It's Christmas time, isn't it? Just here's a little..." He walked rapidly towards the door. "Oh, no, sir," cried the girl, following. "Really, sir, I wouldn't think it. Christmas time, said Gabriel, almost trotting to the stairs, waving his hand, blurring the deprecation. girl, seeing that he had gained the stairs, called out after him, "My thank you, sir." He waited outside the drawing room door until the waltz should finish, listening to the skirt swept against it, and the shuffling of feet. He was still discomposed by the girl's bitter and sudden retort. It cast a gloom over him, which he tried to dispel by arranging his cuffs and the bows of his tie. Then he took from his waistcoat pocket a little paper and glanced at the effort he had made for his speech. He was undecided about the lines from Robert Browning, and he feared they would be above the entity of his hearing. Some quotations they would recognise from Shakespeare, and the melodies would be better. The delicate clacking of the men's ears and the shuffling of their souls reminded him of their grade of culture different. He would only make himself ridiculous by quoting poetry that which they could not understand. They would think that he were erring his superior education. He would fail with them, just as he had failed with the girl in the pantry. He had taken up a wrong tone. His whole speech rehearsal from first to last, and not a failure. Just then his aunt and his wife came out of the ladies' dressing room. His aunts were too small, plainly breasted. Aunt Julia were an inch or so taller. Her hair, drawn low over the top of her ear, was grey. And grey also, with darker shadows, was a large flushed face. Though she was stout in build and stood erect, the slow eyes and parted lips gave her the appearance of a woman who did not know where she was or where she was going. Aunt Kate was more vivacious. Her face, not good in her sisters, was all puckers and creases, with a shriveled red apple, and her hair, braided in the same old-fashioned way, had not lost its ripe nut colour. They both kissed Gabriel frankly, and with their favourite nephew, son of their dead elder sister, Ellen, who had married P.J. Conroy at Port Dock. "Brett tells me you're going to take a cab back to Monkstown tonight, Gabriel." "Okay." "No," said Gabriel, turning to his wife. "We had quite enough of that last year, haven't we? Don't you remember, Aunt Kate? Cold dreading around. Cab windows rattling all the way, and the east wind blowing in after we passed Marion. Very jolly it was. It was quite a dreadful cold." Aunt Kate frowned severely and nodded her head at every word. "Quite right, Gabriel, quite right," she said. "You can't be too careful." "As for Greta there," said Gabriel, "she'd walk home in the snow if she would let me." Miss Conroy laughed. "Don't mind him, Aunt Kate," she said. "He's really an awful bother. The green shades from Tom's eyes at night, making him do the dumbbells, forcing him and me to stir about. Poor child. She simply hates to be stirred about, and she simply hates the sight of it. Oh, but you'll never guess what he makes me wear now." She broke out into a peal of laughter, and glanced at her husband, whose admiring and happy eyes had been wandering from her dress to her face and hair. The two aunts laughed heartily too. Gabriel's solicitude was a standing joke with them. "Galoshes," he said. "That's the latest. Whenever it's wet underfoot, I must put under my galoshes. And I even wanted me to put them on. I wouldn't. The next thing he'll buy me will be a divers." Gabriel laughed nervously and patted his eye reassuringly. Aunt Kate nearly doubled the sum so hard that she enjoyed the joke. The smile soon faded from Aunt Julia's face, and her mirthless eyes were directed towards her nephew's face. After a pause, she asked, "What are galoshes, then?" "Galoshes, Julia?" exclaimed her sister. "Goodness me, don't you know what galoshes are? You wear them over your boots, Gabriel said. "Yes," said Mr. Conroy. "I thought Percher. Both of them there now. Gabriel says everyone wears them on the continent." "Oh, on the continent, Aunt Julia," said Scotland. Gabriel knitted his brows and said, as if it was slightly angry, "There's nothing very wonderful. Greta thinks it's very funny. She says the word reminds her of Christy Minstrel." "Tell me, Gabriel," did briskly. "Of course you've seen about the book. Greta was saying, 'I'll do him as well, right?'" replied Gabriel, taking one in aggression. "To be sure," said Kate. "Her father best interested. For the children, Greta, they're not anxious about them." "I'll for one, though," said Miss Conroy. "Besides, Bessie will look after them." "To be sure," said Aunt Kate. "What a comfort it is to have a girl like that, one you can depend on. There's that Lily. I'm sure I don't know her. She's not the girl she was at all." Gabriel was about to ask his aunt a question at this point, but she broke off suddenly to gaze after her sister. She wandered down the stairs and was craning her neck over the banisters. "I ask you," she said almost instantly, "where is Julia going?" "Julia? Julia, where are you going?" Julia, who had gone halfway down one flight, came back and announced blandly, "Here's Freddie." At the same moment, a clap of her hands, a final flourish of the pianist told them all to them. The drawing room door was open from within, and some couples came out. Aunt Kate drew Gabriel aside hurriedly, whispered down Gabriel like a good fellow and see if he's all right. Pulling him up on the screen. I'm sure he's screwed. I'm sure he is. Gabriel went to the stairs and listened over the banister. He could he could hear two persons talking in the pantry. Then he recognised Freddie Mallon's laugh. He went down the stairs noisily. Such a relief, Mrs. Conroy. Mrs. Conroy. Gabriel, isn't it? I always feel easier in my mind. Julia, there's Mr. Daly. Miss Power. Miss Power will take some refreshment. Thanks for your beautiful walks, Miss Daly. They had lovely time. A tall, wizen-faced man with a stiff, grizzled moustache and swarthy skin was passing out with his pipe and said, "May we have some refreshment too, Miss Morgan?" Julia said, "Here's Mr. Brown and Mrs. Furlong. Take them in, Julia, Miss Daly and Miss Power." "I'm the man for the ladies," said Mr. Brown, who said pursing his lips until his moustache bristled, smiling in all his wrinkles. "You know me, Miss Morgan, the reason they are so fond of me is," he did not finish his sentence, but seeing that Aunt Kate was out of earshot, once led the three young ladies into the back room. The middle of the room were occupied with two square tables placed everywhere, and on these Aunt Julia and the caretaker was breaking out and smoothing a large pot. On the sideboard were arrayed dishes and plates, glasses and bundles and knives and forks and spoons. The top of the closed square piano served also as a sideboard for beer and sweets. A smaller sideboard in one corner, two young men were standing, drinking hot drinks. Mr. Brown led his charges together and invited them all in jest to some ladies' punch, hot, strong, and sweet. As they said they never took anything strong, he opened 3 bottles of lemonade. Then he asked one of the young men to move aside and, taking hold of the decanter, filled out for himself a goodly measure of whiskey. The young men eyed him respectfully. Mr. Charles said, "Quite help me," he said, smiling. "Doctor's orders." His wizened face brightened with a broader smile. The 3 young ladies laughed at the musical echo of his pleasantry, swaying their bodies to and fro with nervous jerks of their shoulders. The bolder said, "Ah, no, Mr. Brown. I'm sure the doctor never ordered anything of the kind." Mr. Brown took another sip of his whiskey and said with sidling mimicry, "Well, you see, I'm not the famous Mrs. Cassidy," who was reported to have said, "Now, Mary Grimes, I don't take it, make me take it, for I feel I want to." His hot face had leaned forward a little too confidentially. He had assumed a very low Dublin accent, but the young ladies, with one instinct, received the speech in silence. Miss Furlong, one of Mary Jane's pupils, asked Miss Daly what the names of the pretty watch she wore. Mr. Brown, seeing that he was ignored, turned promptly to the 2 young men who were more appreciative. A red-faced young woman, dressed in pansy, came into the room, excitedly clapping her hands and crying, "Quadrilles! Quadrilles!" Close on her heels came Aunt Kate, crying, "2 gentlemen and 3 ladies, Mary Jane." "Oh, here's Mr. Bergen and Mr. Kerrigan," said Mary Jane. "Mr. Kerrigan, will you take Miss Power? Miss Furlong, may I get your partner? Mr. Bergen, that will do just now. I'll just do now." "3 ladies, Mary Jane," said Aunt Kate. The 2 young gentlemen asked the ladies if they might have the pleasure, and Mary Jane turned to Miss Daly. "Oh, Miss Daly, you're really awfully good after playing for the last 2 dances. Really, we're so short of ladies tonight." "I don't mind in the least, Miss Morgan. I have a nice partner for you, Mr. Bartell Dawson, tenor. I'll get him to sing later on. All Dubliners rave about him." Lovely voice," said Aunt Kate. As the piano had twice begun the prelude to the first figure, Mary Jane led her recruits quickly from the room. They had hardly gone when Aunt Julia wandered slowly into the room, looking behind her. "What is the matter, Julia?" asked Aunt Kate anxiously. "Who is it?" Julia, who was carrying in a column of table napkins, turned to her sister and said simply, the question that surprised her, "It's only Freddie, Kate, and Gabriel with him." In fact, right behind her, Gabriel could be seen piloting Freddie Malins across the land. That hairy young man of about 40 was of Gabriel's size and build, with very round shoulders. His face was fleshy and pallid, touched with colour only at the thick hanging lobes of his ears and the wide wings of his nose. He had coarse features, blunt nose, convex receding brow, humid and protruded lips. His heavy-lidded eyes and the disorder of his scanty hair made him look sleepy. He was laughing heartily in a high key at the story which he had been telling Gabriel on the stairs, at the same time rubbing the knuckles of his left fist backward and forward with his left thigh. "Good evening, Freddie," said Aunt Julia. Freddie Malins bade the Mrs. Morgan good evening, what seemed an offhand fashion, by reason of the habitual catch in his voice, and then, seeing that Mr. Brown was grinning at him from the sideboard, crossed the room on rather shaky legs and began to repeat in an undertone the story he had just told to Gabriel. He's not so bad, is he? Said Aunt Kate to Gabriel. Gabriel's brows were dark, but he raised them quickly and answered. Oh no, hardly noticeable. Now isn't he a terrible fellow, she said. His poor mother made him take the pledge on New Year's Eve. Go on, Gabriel, drawing room. Before leaving the room with Gabriel, she signalled to Mr. Brown by frowning and shaking her forefinger in warning to and from. Mr. Brown nodded and answered, and, when she had gone, said to Freddie Malin, Now then, Teddy, I'm going to fill you out a good glass of lemonade, Mr. Buckmore. Freddie Malin, nearing the climax of the story, gave the offer aside impatiently. Mr. Brown, having first called Freddie Malin's attention to the disarray in his dress, filled out, and handed him a full glass of lemonade. Freddie Malin's left hand accepted the glass mechanically, his right hand being engaged in the mechanical readjustment of his dress. Mr. Brown, whose face was once more wrinkled with mirth, poured out for himself a glass of whiskey while Freddie Malin exploded, for he had well reached the climax of his story. The king put high-pitched bronchitis of laughter, setting down his untasted overflowing glass, and rubbed the knuckles of his left fist backward and forward into his left eye, repeating words of his last phrase as well as his fit of laughter would allow. There's a small break here in the story, and I'm going to take a chance to have a drink, and then have my pasta, which I'm allowed behind. You know, when I took it, but my throat is starting to feel the breath again, so then I'll keep on. Of course, I'm sure they would help more if I was allowed more than 1 hour, Lamb. I'm sure I could, Lamb. Lamp is ignoring. Does seem well. Right. Gabriel could not listen while Mary Jane were playing her academy piece. Follow runs and difficult passages to the Austral room. He liked music, but the piece she were playing had no melody. He doubted whether it had any melody for the other lessons, though he had begged Mary Jane to play something. 4 young men who had come from the refreshment room to stand in the doorway at the sound of the piano had gone away in quiet couples after a few minutes. The only persons who seemed to follow the music were Mary Jane herself. Her hands racing along the keyboard or lifted from it at the pauses like those of a priestess in momentary implication. And Aunt Kate, standing at her elbow, turned the page. Gabriel's eyes, irritated by the floor, which glittered with beeswax like the heavy chandelier, wandered to the wall above the piano. A picture of the balcony scene in Romeo and Juliet hung there, and beside it were a picture of 2 murdered princes in the tower, which Aunt Julia had worked in red, blue, and brown walls when she was a girl. Probably in the school they had gone to as girls, that kind of work had been taught for 1 year his mother had worked. For 1 year his mother had worked for him a birthday present. As a birthday present, a waistcoat with purple tabards and little fox's heads upon it, armed with brown satin and having a round mulberry button. It was strange that his mother had no musical talent. Aunt Kate used to call her the brains carrier of the Walton family. Both she and Julia had always seemed a little proud of their so serious and matronly sister. A photograph stood before the pier glass. She had an open book on her knees, pointing out something in it constantly. She, dressed in a man of war suit, lay at her feet. It was she who had chosen the name for her sons, but she was very sensible for the dignity of family life. Thanks to her, Constantine was now senior curate in Baldwin, and thanks to her, Gabriel himself had taken his degree at the Royal University. A shadow passed over his face as he remembered her sullen opposition to his marriage. Some slighting phrases she had used still rankled in his memory. She had once spoken of Greta as being a country cute, but that were not true of Greta at all. It was Greta who had nursed her during all her last long illness in the house amongst them. He knew that Mary Jane must be near the end of her piece. She was playing again, the opening melody with runs of scales after every bar, and while he waited for the end, the resentment died down in his heart. The piece ended with a trill of octaves in the treble and a final deep octave in the bass. Greta paused, greeted Mary Jane, as, blushing and rolling up her music nervously, she escaped from the room. The most vigorous clapping came from the 4 young men in the doorway, who had gone away to the refreshment room at the beginning of the piece, but had come back when the piano had stopped. Lances were arranged. Gabriel found himself partnered with Miss Ivors. She was a frank-mannered, talkative young lady, with a freckled face and prominent brown eyes. She did not wear a low-cut bodice, and a large brooch which was fixed in the front of her collar bore on it an Irish device. When they had taken their places, she said abruptly, "I have a crow to pluck with you." "With me?" said Gabriel. She nodded her head gravely. "What is it?" asked Gabriel, smiling at her solemn manner. "Who is GC?" answered Miss Arthurs, and turned her eye upon him. Gabriel coloured and was about to knit his brows as if he did not understand. She said bluntly, "Oh, innocent Amy, I found out that you write for the Daily Express. Aren't you ashamed of yourself?" "Why should I be ashamed of myself?" asked Gabriel, blinking his eyes and trying to smile. "I'm ashamed of you," said Mr. Yours, frankly. "To say you'd write for a rag like that. I didn't think you were a West Briton." A look of perplexity appeared on Gabriel's face. It was true that he wrote literary columns every Wednesday in the Daily Express, which would pay 15 shillings, but that did not make him West Briton, surely. The books he received for review were almost more welcome than the paltry cheque. He loved to feel the covers and turn over the pages of newly printed books. Nearly every day when his teaching in the college was ended, he used to wander down the quay to the second-hand bookshelves. The Hickeys or Bachelor's Wolf, or Webbs or Massey's or Aston Key, or to O'Cloy's, passed him. He did not know how to meet her charge. He wanted to say that literature were above politics. They were friends of many years standing, and their careers had been parallel, lost at the university and as teachers. He could not risk a grandiose phrase with her. He continued blinking his eyes, trying to smile, and murmured lamely that he saw nothing political in writing reviews of books. When they turned across to tell him, he was still perplexed, and then repentant. Miss Ivors probably took his hand in a warm grasp and said in a soft, friendly tone, "Of course I was only joking. Come, we're cross now." When they were together again, she spoke of the university question. Gabriel felt more at ease. A friend of hers had shown her his review of Browning's poems. That was how she had found out the secret. But she liked the review immensely. And she said suddenly, "Oh, Mr. Conroy, we come for an excursion to the Aran Isles this summer. We're going to stay there a whole month. It's splendid out in the Atlantic. You ought to come. Mr. Constance coming, Mr. Kelly, Kathleen Kearney. It would be splendid for Greta too if she'd come. She should come, wouldn't she?" "Her people are," said Gabriel shortly. "But you will come, won't you?" said Miss Arthurs, laying her warm hand eagerly on his arm. "The fact is, Gabriel, I've already arranged to go. Go where?" "Well, you know, every year I go for a cycling tour with some fellows, and so—" "But where?" asked Miss Arthurs. "Well, we usually go to France or Belgium, or perhaps Germany," Gabriel walked with. "Why do you go to France, Belgium, or Belgium, instead of visiting your own land?" "Well," said Gabriel, "it's partly to keep in touch with the language, partly for change." "And haven't you your own language to keep in touch with? Irish?" said Miss Arthurs. "Well," said Gabriel, "if it comes to that, you know Irish is not my language." The neighbours had turned to listen to the cross-examination. Gabriel glanced right and left nervously and tried to keep his good humour under the ordeal, which was making a blush invade his forehead. "And haven't you seen your own land to visit?" continued Miss Arthurs. "You know nothing of your own people and your own country." "Oh, to tell you the truth," said Gabriel suddenly, "I'm sick of my own country. Sick of it." "Why?" asked Miss Arthurs. Gabriel did not answer, but his retort heated him. "Why?" repeated Miss Arthurs. They had to go visit her together, and he did not answer her. Miss Arthurs said warmly, "Of course, you've no answer." Gabriel tried to cover his agitation by taking part in the dance with great energy. He avoided her eyes, for he had seen a sour expression. When they met in the long chain, he was surprised to feel his hand firmly pressed. She looked at him from under her brows for a moment, quizzically, until he smiled. Then, just as the chamber was about to start again, he stood on tiptoe and whispered into his ear, "West Britain." When the dances were over, Gabriel went away to a remote corner where Freddie Mallon's mother was sitting. She was a stout, feeble old woman with white hair. Her voice had a catch in it like her son's, and she stuttered slightly. She had been told that Freddie had come and that he was nearly all right. Gabriel asked her whether she had a good crossing. She lived with her married daughter in Glasgow and came to Dublin on a visit once a year. She answered placidly that she had a beautiful crossing, and that the captain was most attentive to her. She spoke also of the beautiful house and daughter kept in Glasgow, and all the nice friends down there. While her tongue rambled on, Gabriel tried to banish from his mind all memory of the unpleasant incident. Of course, the girl, or woman, or whatever she was an enthusiast. There were times for all things. Perhaps he ought not to have answered her like that. She she had no right to call him a West Brit before people, even in joke. She would try to make him ridiculous, nickling him and staring at him with her round eyes. He saw his wife making her way towards him through the walls of Dubliners. When she reached them, she said in his ear, "Gabriel, Aunt Kate wants to know when you carve the goose as usual. Miss Daly will carve the ham and I'll do the pudding." "Alright," said Gabriel. "Send the youngest ones for us as soon as the sports is over, so we'll have the table to ourselves." "Are you dancing?" asked Gabriel. "Of course I was. Didn't you see me?" "Words that you would not laugh." "No words. Right, I should say so. Something like that. I'm trying to get that Mr. Darcy to sing. It's full of conceit, I think." There were no words. Said Gabriel rudely, "Unless you wanted me to go for a trip to the west of Ireland," I said I would. His wife clasped her hands tightly and gave a little jump. "Oh, do go, Gabriel." She said, "I'd love to see Galloway again." "You can go if you like," said Gabriel coldly. She looked at him for a moment, turned to Miss Mallins and said, "There's a nice husband for you, Miss Mallins." While she was threading her way back across the room, Miss Mallins, without other personal interruption, went on to tell Gabriel what beautiful places there were in Scotland, beautiful scenery. Her son-in-law brought them every year to the lakes, and they used to go fishing. Her son-in-law were a splendid fisher. One day he caught a fish, a beautiful big fish, and the man in the hotel boiled it with their dinner. Gabriel hardly heard what she said. Now that supper was coming near, he began to think again about his speech, about the quotation. When he saw Freddie Malins coming across the room to visit his mother, Gabriel left the chair free for him and retired to the embrasure of the window. The room had already cleared, and the black rooms came in clatter of plates and knives. Those who still remained in the drawing room seemed tired of dancing, and were conversing quietly in their groups. Gabriel's warm, trembling fingers tapped the cold pane of the window. How cool it must be outside. How pleasant it would be to walk out alone, first along by the river, and then through the park. The snow would be lying on the branches of the trees, forming a bright cap on the top of the Wellington Monument. How much more pleasant it would be then than at the supper table. He ran over the endings of his speech: Irish hospitality, memories, three graces, Paris, a quotation from Browning. He repeated to himself a phrase he had written in his review. One feels that one is listening to a thought tormented music. Miss Arvid had praised the review. Was she sincere? Had she really any life of her own beyond all the propagandist? There had never been any ill feeling between them until that night. It unnerved him to think that she would be at the supper table with life again while he spoke to her with an eye. Perhaps she would not be sorry to see him fail at his speech. An idea came into his mind and gave him courage. He would say, alluding to Aunt Kate and Aunt Julia, "Ladies and gentlemen, the generation which is now on the wane among us may have had its fault. For my part, I think it had certain qualities of hospitality, of humour, of humanity. The new and very serious and hyper-educated generation that is growing up around us seems to me to lack." Very good. That was one for Miss Arvels. What did he care that his answer were too ignorant? The murmur in the room attracted his attention. Mr. Brown was advancing to the door, gallantly escorting Aunt Julia, who leaned upon his arm, smiling and hanging her head. An irregular musketry of applause escorted her also as far as the piano, and then, as Mary Jane seated herself at the stool, Aunt Julia, no longer smiling, half turned so as to pitch her voice fairly into the room, gradually ceased. Gabriel recognised the prelude. It was that of an old song, of Aunt Julia's, "Parade for the Bridal." Her voice, strong and clear in tone, attacked with great spirit the runs which embellished the air. And though she sang very rapidly, she did not miss even the smallest of the graces. To follow the voice without looking at the singer's face was to feel and share the excitement and swiftness of your flight. Gabriel applauded loudly with all the others at the close of the song, and loud applause were borne in from the invisible supper table. It sounded so genuine that a little colour struggled into Aunt Julia's face as she bent and placed the music stand to the old leather-bound songbook that had her initials on the cover. Freddie Malins, who was listening with his head perched sideways to hear her better, was still applauding when everyone else had ceased, talking animatedly to his mother, who nodded her head gravely and slowly in acquiescence. At last, when he could clap no more, he stood up suddenly and hurried across the room to Aunt Julia. His hand he seized and held them both in his hand, shaking him when words failed him. The catch in his voice proved too much for him. "I was just telling my mother," he said. "I never heard you sing so well, never. No, I never heard your voice so good as it is tonight. Now, Would you believe that now? That's the truth. On my word and honour, that's the truth. I never heard your voice sound so fresh and so clear and frank. Never. Aunt Julia smiled broadly and muttered something about compliments as she released her hand from his grasp. Mr. Brown extended his open hand towards her and said to those who were near him in the manner of a showman, introducing a prodigy to an audience. Miss Julia Morgan, my latest discovery. He was laughing very hard at this himself. Freddie Malins turned to him and said, well, Brown, if you're serious, you might make a worse discovery. All I can say is I never heard her sing half so well as long as I am coming. That's the honest truth. Neither did I, said Brown. I think her voice is greatly improved. Aunt Julia shrugged her shoulders and said, and he cried, 30 years ago I hadn't a bad voice as voices go. I often told Julia, said Aunt Kate emphatically, she was simply thrown away in that choir. She never would be said by me. She turned as if to appeal to the good sense of others, a refractory child, while Aunt Julia gazed in front of her, a vague smile of reminiscence playing on her face. No, continued Aunt Kate, she wouldn't be said or led by anyone, slaving there in that choir night and day. 6 o'clock on Christmas morning, all for one. Well, isn't it for the honour of God, Aunt Kate? Asked Mary Jane, twisting around on the piano stool and smiling. Aunt Kate turned fiercely to me and said, I know all about the honour of God, Mary Jane, but I think it's not at all honourable to turn out the women out of choirs who slaved there all their lives, put little whippersnappers of boys over their heads. I suppose it's for the good of the church that the Pope does it, but it's not for us. It's not just, Mary Jane, and it's not right. She had worked herself into a passion, but it continued in defence of her sister, for it was a sore subject with her. Mary Jane, seeing that all the dancers had come back, intervened passively. Specifically, now Aunt Kate, you and scandal to Mr. Brown because of the other persuasion. Aunt Kate turned to Mr. Brown, who was grinning at this allusion to his religion, and she said hastily, oh, I don't question the Pope's being right. I'm only a stupid old woman, I wouldn't let him do such a thing. There's such a thing as common everyday politeness and gratitude. And if I were in Julia's place, I'd tell that father he would straight this way. Besides, Aunt Kate, said Mary Jane. And besides, Aunt Kate, said Mary Jane, we really are all hungry, and when we are hungry, we're all very quarrelsome. And when we are thirsty, we're also quarrelsome, said Mr. Brown. But we had better go to supper, said Mary Jane, and finish the discussion afterwards. On the landing outside the drawing room, Gabriel found his wife and Mary Jane trying to persuade Miss Ivors to stay for supper. Miss Ivors, with put on a hat and buttoned a coat and cloak, would not stay. She did not feel in the least hungry, and she had already overstayed her time. But only 10 minutes, Molly, said Mrs. Conroy. That won't delay you. Take a pick itself, said Mary Jane, after you had done all you were done. I really couldn't, said Miss Ivors. I'm afraid you didn't enjoy yourself at all, said Mary Jane hopelessly. Never so much, I assure you, said Miss Ivors, but you really must let me run off now. How can you get home? Asked Miss Conroy. Oh, it's only two steps up the quay. Gabriel hesitated a moment and said, if you'll allow me, Miss Ivors, I'll see you home if you really are obliged to go. Miss Ivors broke away from them. I won't hear of it, she cried. For goodness sake, go and eat your suppers. Don't mind me. I'm quite well able to take care of myself. There, you're the comical girl, said Molly. Go, Molly, said Miss Conroy frankly. Van have to live, cried Miss Ivors with a laugh. She ran down the staircase. Mary Jane gazed after her, a moody, puzzled expression on her face, while Miss Conroy leaned in over the banister and listened for the hall door. Gabriel asked himself, was he the cause for her abrupt departure? She did not seem to be in ill humour. She had gone away laughing. He stared blankly down the staircase. At that moment, Aunt Kate came toddling out of the supper room, almost wringing her hands in despair. Where is Gabriel? She cried. Where on earth is Gabriel? There's everybody waiting there. Stage to left, and nobody to carve the goose. Here I am, Aunt Kate, cried Gabriel, with sudden animation, ready to carve a flock of geese if necessary. The fat brown goose lay at one end of the table. At the other end, on a bed of creased paper strewn with sprigs of mock parsley, lay a great ham, stripped to its outer skin and peppered all over with crust crumbs. A neat paper frill folded its rounded shin, and beside this were a round of spiced beef. Between these rival ends ran parallel lines of side dishes. 2 little ministers of jelly, rigniola, a shallow dish full of blocks of blanc mange and red jam, a large green leaf shaped dish with a stalk-shaped handle, on which lay a bunch of purple raisins and peeled almonds, a companion dish on which lay a solid rectangle of Smyrna figs, a dish of custard topped with grated nutmeg, a small bowl full of chocolate suites wrapped in gold and silver papers, a glass vase in which stood some tall celery sticks. In the centre of the table there stood, centuries to a fruit stand which upheld pyramids of oranges, American apples, two squat old-fashioned decanters of cut glass, one contained port and the other dark sherry. The closed square, a piano, a pudding and a huge yellow dish lay in wait. Behind it were 3 squads of bottles of stout and ale, and minerals drawn up according to the colours of their uniforms. The first 2 black, brown and red labels, the third, smaller squad, white, transverse green sashes. Gabriel took his seat boldly at the head of the table, and having looked at the edge of the carver, plunged his fork firmly into the goose. He felt quite at ease now, for he was an expert carver, and liked nothing better than finding himself at the end of a well-laid potato. Miss Furlong, what shall I send you? A wing or a slice of the breast? Just a small slice of the breast. Miss Higgins, what for you? Oh, anything at all, Mr. Cotton. While Gabriel and Miss Daly exchanged plates of goose, plates of lamb, and spiced beef, Lily went from guest to guest with a dish of hot floury potato, wrapped in a white napkin. This was Mary Jane's idea, and she had also suggested applesauce for the goose. Aunt Kate had said that plain roast goose without applesauce had always been good enough for her, and she hoped she might never eat worse. Mary Jane waited on her pupils and saw they got the best slices. Aunt Kate and Aunt Julia opened and carried across from the piano bottles of stout and ale for the gentlemen, bottles of minerals for the ladies. There were a great deal of confusion and laughter and noise. The noise of orders and counter orders, knives and forks, corks and glass stoppers. Gabriel began to carve the second open as soon as he finished the first round without sewing himself. Everyone protested loudly, so they compromised by taking a long draught of stout. We found the carver not well. Mary Jane settled down quietly for supper. Aunt Kate and Aunt Julia were still toddling around the table, walking on each other's heels, getting in each other's way, and giving each other unheeded orders. Mr. Brown begged for them to sit down and eat their suppers, and so did Gabriel. They said there was time enough to do that. At last Freddie Malin stood up and, capturing Aunt Kate, plumped her down in the chair amid general laughter. When everyone had been well served, Gabriel said, smiling, "Now, if anyone wants a little more of what vulgar people call stuffing, speak, let him or her speak." A chorus of voices invited him to begin his own supper, and Lily came forward with 3 potatoes which she reserved. "Very well," said Gabriel amiably, as he took another preparatory draught. "Kindly forget my existence, ladies and gentlemen, for a few minutes." He set to his supper and took no part in the conversation, with which the table covered Lily's removal of the plates. The subject of talk of the opera company, which were then at the Free Theatre Royal. Mr. Bartell Darcy, tenor, a dark complexion young man with a smart moustache, raised very highly the lead contralto of the company. Miss Furlong thought she had a rather vulgar style of production. Freddie Malin said there were a Negro chieftain singing in the second part, Gaiety Pantomime, who had one of the finest tenor voices he had ever heard. "Have you heard him?" he asked Mr. Bartell Darcy across the table. "No," answered Mr. Bartell Darcy carelessly. "Because," Freddie Malin explained, "now I'd be curious to hear your opinion. I think he has a grand voice. It takes Teddy to find out the really good things," said Mr. Brown, immediately at the table. "And why couldn't he have a voice too?" said Freddie Malin sharply. "It's because he's only black." Nobody answered the question. Mary Jane led the table back to the legitimate opera. One of her pupils had given her a pass for Mick. Of course, we're very fine, she said, but it made her boy think of poor Georgina Byrne. Mr. Brown could go back further still. The old Italian company that used to come to Dublin. Yetjins, Mosca, Campanini, the Great Trebelli, Duglini, Revelli Adam Berno. Those were the days. There was something like singing that you heard in Dublin. He told too of how the top gallery of the old Royal used to be packed night after night. Well, one night an Italian tenor had sung 5 encores to Let Me Like a Soldier Fall, introducing a high C every time. Where the gallery boys would sometimes, in the enthusiasm, unyoke the horses from the carriage of some great prima donna, follow themselves to the streets where it was found. Why did they never play the grand old operas now? We asked. Lenora, Lucrezia Borgia, because they could not get the voices to sing, and that was why. "Ah well," said Mr. Bartell Darcy. "I presume there are good singers today, was there well then?" "Where are they?" asked Mr. Brown defiantly. "In London, Paris, Milan," said Mr. Bartell Darcy warmly. I suppose Caruso, for example, is quite as good, if not better, than any of the men you have mentioned. Maybe so, said Mr. Brown. I might tell you I doubt it strongly. I'd give anything to hear Caruso sing, said Mary Jane. Me, said Aunt Kate, picking a bone. It was only one tenor. Please me, I mean. I suppose none of you ever heard him. Heard of him. Who was he, Miss Wilkins? Mr. Barton asked politely. His name, said Aunt Kate, was Parkinson. I heard him when he was in his prime, and I think he had then the purest tenor voice that was ever put into a man's throat. Strange, said Mr. Barton. I never heard of him. Yes, Miss Morgan is right, said Mr. Brown. I remember hearing of old Parkin. He's too far back for me. A beautiful, pure, sweet, mellow English tenor, said Aunt Kate, enthusiastic. Gabriel, having finished, the huge bosom was transferred onto the table. The clatter of forks and spoons began again. Gabriel's wife served out spoonfuls of pudding and passed the plates down the table. Midway down, they were held up by Mary Jane, who replenished them with raspberry or orange jelly, with blancmange and jam. The pudding was of Aunt Julia's making, and she received praises for it from all quarters. She herself said that it was not quite brown enough. Well, I hope, Miss Morgan, Mr. Brown, I'm brown enough for you, because you know, I'm all brown. All the gentlemen except Gabriel ate some of the pudding out of compliment to Aunt Julia. As Gabriel never ate sweets, the celery had been left for him. Freddie Malins also took a stalk of celery and ate it with his pudding. He had been told that celery was a cat walking for blood. It was just down to doctor's care. Miss Malins had been silent all through the supper, but her son was going down to Mount Melleray in a week or so. The table then spoke of Mount Melleray, how bracing the air was down there, a hospitable monks were. Now they never asked for a penny piece from their guests. And do you mean to say, asked Mr. Brown incredulously, a chap can go down there and park there as if it were a hotel, and live on the fat of the land, and then come away without paying a farthing? I must be give some donation to the monastery when they leave, said Mary Jane. I wish we had an institution like that in our church, Mr. Brown candidly. He was astonished to hear that the monks never spoke, got up at 2 in the morning and slept in their coffins. He asked what they did it all for. That's the rule of the order, said Aunt Kate firmly. Yes, but why? Asked Mr. Brown. Aunt Kate repeated that it was the rule. That was all. Mr. Brown still seemed not to understand. Freddie Malins explained to him, as best he could, the monks were trying to make up for the sins committed by all the sinners in the outlaw. The explanation was not very clear for but Mr. Brown grinned and said, I like that idea very much. Wouldn't a comfortable spring bed do them as well as a coffin? The coffin, said Mary Jane, is to remind them of their last end. As the subject had grown lugubrious, it was buried in silence of the bed, during which Mr. Malins could be heard saying to her neighbour, Mrs. Malins could be heard saying to her neighbour, in an indistinct undertone, they are very good men, the monks, very pious men. The raisins and almonds and figs and apples and oranges and chocolates and sweets were now passed about the table. Aunt Julia invited all the guests to have either port or sherry. At first, Mr. Bartell Darcy refused to take either. One of his neighbours nudged him and whispered something to him, upon which he allowed his glass to be filled. Gradually, the last glasses were being filled, the conversation ceased. A pause followed, broken only by the noise of the wine, and by Aunt sitting in the chair. And Mrs. Morgan, all three, looked down at the table. Someone coughed once or twice, and then a few gentlemen patted the table gently as a signal for silence. The silence came, and Gabriel pushed back his chair and stood up. The pattern at once grew louder with encouragement, and then ceased altogether. Gabriel leaned his 10 trembling fingers on the tablecloth and smiled nervously and humbly. Meeting a row of upturned faces, he raised his eyes to the chandelier. The piano were playing a waltz tune, and you could hear the skirts sweeping against the drawing room. People perhaps were standing in the snow on the quay outside, gazing up at the lighted windows and listening to the waltz music. The air were pure there. In the distance lay the park, and the trees were waiting for snow. The Wellington Monument wore a gleaming candlestick. It flashed westward over the white field for 15 acres. He began. Ladies and gentlemen, it has fallen on my lot this evening, as in this part, to perform a very pleasing task. A task for which I am afraid my poor powers as a speaker are all too inadequate. No, but, however that may be, I can only ask you tonight to take the will for the deed and lend me your attention for a few moments while I endeavour to express to you in words what my feelings are on this occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, It is not the first time that we have gathered together under this hospitable roof, around this hospitable board. It is not the first time that we have been the recipient, or perhaps I had better say the victims, of the hospitality of certain good ladies. He made a circle in the air with his arm and paused. Everyone laughed or smiled at Aunt Kate and Aunt Julia, and Mary Jane. All turned crimson with pleasure. Gabriel went on more boldly. I feel more strongly with every recurring year that our country has no tradition which does it so much honour, and which it regards so jealously as that of its hospitality. It is a tradition that is unique as far as my experience goes, and I have visited not a few places among the modern nations. Some would say, perhaps, with us it is rather a failure, most of us. But granted, even that, it is to my mind a princely failure, one that I trust will long be cultivated among us. Of one thing, at least, I am sure. As long as this one roof shelters the good ladies aforesaid, and I wish from my heart it may do so for many and many a long year to come, the tradition of genuine, warm-hearted courteous Irish hospitality, which our forefathers have handed down to us, which we in turn must hand down to others, is still alive among us. A hearty murmur of assent ran round the table. It shot through Gabriel's mind that Miss Arvors were not there, and she had gone away discourteously. And he said with confidence in himself, "Ladies and gentlemen, a new generation has grown up in our midst, a generation actuated by new ideas and new principles. He is serious and enthusiastic for these new ideas, and its enthusiasm, even when it is misdirected, is, I believe, in the main sincere. We are living in a skeptical, and if I may use the phrase, a thought-tormented age. It's something I fear that this new generation, educated or hyper-educated as it is, will lack those qualities of humanity, of hospitality, kindly humour which belong to an older day. Listen in the night to the names of all those great singers. It seemed to me, I must confess, we were living in a less spacious age. Those days might, without exaggeration, be called spacious days, and if they are gone beyond recall, let us hope at least, in gatherings such as these we shall still speak of them with pride and affection, still cherish in our hearts the memory of those dead and gone great ones, whose fame in the world is not willingly let die. Hear, hear, said Mr. Brown. But yeah, said Gabriel, his voice falling into a softer inflection, there are always in gatherings such as this sadder things that will recur through our minds. Thoughts of the past, the youth, the changes of absent faces that we miss in the night. Our path through life is strewn with many such sad memories. While we'd have brewed upon them always, we could not find the art to go on bravely with our work among the living. We have all of us living duties and living affections, which claim, and rightly claim, our strenuous endeavours. Therefore, I will not linger in it. I will not let any gloomy moralising intrude upon us here tonight. Here we are gathered together for a brief moment in the bustle and rush of our everyday routine. We are met here as friends, in the spirit of good fellowship, as colleagues, also to a certain extent, in the true spirit of camaraderie, and as the guest of, what shall I call it, the three graces of the Dublin musical world. The table burst into applause and laughter at this sally. Aunt Julia vainly asked if each of her neighbours had turned to tell her what Gabriel had said. He says we are the three graces, Aunt Julia, said Mary Jane. Aunt Julia did not understand, and she looked up smiling at Gabriel. He continued in the same vein. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not attempt to play the part of that Paris played on another occasion. I will not attempt to choose between them. The task would be an invidious one beyond my poor powers. When I view them in turn, whether it be our chief hostess herself, whose too good heart to become a byword with all who know her, or a sister, who seems to be gifted with perennial youth, whose singing must have been a surprise and a revelation to us all tonight. Or last but not least, when I consider our youngest host, talented, cheerful, hard-working, and the best of nieces, I confess, ladies and gentlemen, I do not know for which of them I should award the prize. Gabriel glanced down at his aunt, and, seeing the large smile on Aunt Julia's face, tears which were in Aunt Kate's eyes, hastened to his close. He raised his glass of port gallantly, while every member of the company fingered a glass expectantly. He said loudly, "Let's toast them all three together. Let's drink to their health, wealth, long life, happiness, and prosperity. May they long continue to hold the proud and self-won position that they hold in their profession, in the position of honour and affection which they hold in our hearts." All the guests stood up, glass in hand, and turning towards the three seated ladies, sang in unison with Mr. Brown as leader. They are jolly gay fellows, for they are jolly gay fellows, for they are jolly gay fellows, which nobody can deny. Aunt Kate would make a frank use of her handkerchief, and even Aunt Julia seemed moved. Freddie Malins beat time with his pudding fork, and the singers turned towards one another, as if in melodious conference, and they sang with emphasis, unless he tells a lie, unless he tells a lie, and turning once more towards their hostesses, they sang, they are jolly gay fellas, for they are jolly gay fellas, for they are jolly gay fellas, which nobody can deny. The acclamation was far and was taken up beyond the door of the supper room by many of the other guests, and renewed time after time. Freddie Malins acting as officer with his fork on high. There's another small break here. Of course, the SkitterSkreetch. This is rather a long piece. Lamp the church and push it for at least else. This one there came in the hall. They were standing. Aunt Kate said, "Close the door, somebody. This man's will get a death of cold." "Brown is Aunt Kate," said Mary Jane. "Brown is everywhere," said Aunt Kate, lowering her voice. Mary Jane laughed at her tone. "Really, she said archly. He's very attentive. He's been laid on here like the gas," said Aunt Kate, in the same tone, all during the Christmas. She laughed herself this time, good-humouredly, and added quickly, "Tell him to come in, Mary Jane. Close this door. Good to see you in the end." At that moment the hall door opened and Mr. Brown came in from the doorstep, laughing as if his heart would break. He was dressed in a long green overcoat with mock astrakhan cuffs and collar, and wore on his head an oval fur cap. He pointed down the snow-covered quay from where the sound of shrill prolonged whistling was borne in. "Tell you what of all the cabs in Dubliners," he said. Gabriel of Archfield Patrick around the office, struggling in his overcoat, and, looking round the hall, said, "Better not down you. It's getting on, I think." Gabriel said, "Aunt Kate. Who's playing up there?" asked Gabriel. "Nobody. They're all gone." "Oh no, Aunt Kate," said Mary Jane. "Right, I'll ask you. Mr. Callaghan not gone yet?" "Someone is strumming at the piano anyhow," said Gabriel. Mary Jane glanced at Gabriel and Miss Brown and said with a shiver, "It's cold to eat, gentlemen, not like that. I wouldn't like to face your journey home at this hour. I'd like nothing better this minute," said Mr. Brown. "Doubtless a rattling fine walk in the country or a fast ride with a good spanking girl between the shots. Used to have a very good horse and trap at home," said Aunt Julia sadly. "The never-to-be-forgotten Johnny," said Mary Jane, laughing. Aunt Kate and Gabriel laughed too. "Why, what was wonderful about Johnny?" asked Mr. Brown. "The late lamented Patrick Morecambe, our great-grandfather that is, explained Gabriel, commonly known in his later years as the old gentleman, was a glue boiler." "Oh now, Gabriel," said Aunt Kate, laughing as if laughing. "He had a starch mill." "Well, glue or starch," said Gabriel. "The old gentleman had a horse by the name of Johnny. Johnny used to work in the old gentleman's mill, walking round and round in order to drive the mill. That were all very well. Now comes the tragic part about Johnny. One fine day the old gentleman thought he'd like to drive out with the quality of a military review in the park. And the Lord have mercy on his soul," said Aunt Kate, blushing. "Amen," said Gabriel. So the old gentleman, as I said, harnessed Johnny and put on his very best tall hat and his very best top collar, drove out in grand style from his ancestral mansion somewhere near Back Lane, I think. Everyone laughed at Miss Malins and Gabriel's family, and Aunt Kate said, "Oh no, Gabriel didn't live in Back Lane, really, only the mill was there." And from the mansion of his forefathers, Gabriel, he drove with Johnny, and everything went on beautifully until Johnny came in sight of King Billy's statue. And whether he fell in love with the horse King Billy sits on, or whether he thought he was back again in the mill, anyhow, he began to walk round the statue. Gabriel paced in a circle round the audience, galoshes, with the laughter of the others. Round and round he went, said Gabriel. The old gentleman, who were a very pompous old gentleman, were highly indignant. "Go on, sir. What do you mean, sir? Johnny, most extraordinary couple. I can't understand it." There was a laugh which followed Gabriel's imitation of this, and were interrupted by a resounding knock at the hall door. Mary Jane Manuel opened it, and entered Freddie Malins. Freddie Malins, with his hat well back on his head, and his shoulders humped with cold, was puffing and steaming after his exertions. "I can only get one cab, he said. I will find another along the quay, said Ben. Yes, said Uncle. Fair not to keep Miss Malins standing in the draft. Miss Malins was helped down the front steps by her son, Mr. Brown, and after many manoeuvres, hoisted into the cab. Freddie Malins camelled in after her, and spent a long time setting her on the seat. Mr. Brown helped him with advice. At last she was settled comfortably, and Freddie Malins invited Mr. Brown into the cab. There was a good deal of confused talk, and then Mr. Brown got into the cab. The cabman set his rug over his knee and bent down for the address. Confusion grew greater. The cabman was directed differently by Freddie Malins and Mr. Brown, each of whom had his head out through a window of the cab. The difficulty was to know where to drop Mr. Brown along the route. Aunt Kate, Aunt Julia, and Mary Jane helped the discussion from the doorstep with cross directions and contradictions, and an abundance of laughter. As for Freddie Malins, he was speechless with laughter. He popped his head in and out of the window every moment, in great danger of his hat, and told his mother how the discussion was progressing. But at last Mr. Brown shouted at the woman cabman above the din of everybody's laughter. You know Trinity College? Yes, sir, said the cabman. We'll drive bang up against Trinity College gate, said Mr. Brown, and then we'll tell you where to go. You understand now? Yes, sir, said the cabman. Make like a berth at Trinity College. Right, sir, cried the cabman. The horse were whipped up, the cab rattled off along the quay, and then the chorus of laughter in the heels. Gabriel had not gone to the door with the others. We were in a dark part of the hall, gazing up the stairs. A woman was standing at the top of the first flight, in the shadow also. He could not see her face. He could see the terracotta and salmon pink panel of her skirt, which the shadow made appear black and white. It was his wife. She was leaning on the banister, listening to something. Gabriel was surprised at her stillness, and strained as if to listen. He could hear little save the noise of laughter and dispute on the front steps. A few chords struck on the piano, and a few notes of a man's voice singing. He stood still in the gloom of the hall, trying to catch the air that the voice was singing, gazing up at his wife. There was grace and mystery in her attitude, as if she were a symbol or something. He asked himself, is a woman standing on the stairs in the shadow, listening to distant music, a symbol? If he were a painter, he would paint her in that attitude. Her blue felt hat would show off the bronze of her hair in darkness, and the dark panels of her skirt would show off the light one. Distant music would recall the picture if he were a painter. The old door was closed. Aunt Kate, Aunt Julia, and Mary Jane came down the hall still laughing. That isn't Freddie terrible, said Mary Jane. He's really terrible. Gabriel said nothing, but pointed up the stairs towards where his wife was standing. Now that the old door was closed, the voice of the piano could be heard more clearly. Gabriel held up his hand and was silent. The song seemed to be in the old Irish tonality, and the singer seemed uncertain of both his words and his voice. The voice, made plaintive by distance and the singer's hoarseness, faintly illuminated the cadence of the air, the words expressing grief. Now the rain falls on my heavy locks, you wet my skin. My babe lies cold. Ah! It's Bartell Darcy, said he. He wouldn't sing all night. Oh, I'll sing a song before he goes. I'll do, Mary Jane, said I. Mary Jane brushed past the others and went to the staircase. Before she reached it, the singing stopped, and the piano was closed abruptly. Ah, what a pity. She's coming down, Greta. Gabriel heard his wife answer yes, and saw her come down towards him. A few steps behind her were Mr. Bartell Darcy and Mr. Cullen. Oh, Mr. Darcy, cried Mary Jane, it's downright mean of you to break off like that when we were all in practice listening to you. An animal evening, said Mr. Cullen. Miss Conroy and Mrs. Conroy too. They told us he had a dreadful cold and couldn't sing. Oh, Mr. Darcy, said I. That was a great big fellow. I can see that I'm horses and crows, said Mr. Darcy, roughly. He went into the pantry hastily and put his overcoat. The others, taken aback by his rude speech, could find nothing to say. Aunt Kate wrinkled her brows and made signs to the others to drop the subject. Mr. Darcy stood swaying his neck carefully and frowning. It's the weather, said Aunt Julia. Yes, everybody has cold, said Aunt Kate readily. Everybody. They say, said Mary Jane, we haven't had snow like it for 30 years. I read this morning in the newspaper that the snow is general all over Ireland. I love the look of snow, Aunt Julia, sadly. So do I, said Mrs. I think Christmas is never really Christmas unless we have the snow on the ground. Poor Mr. Darcy doesn't like the snow, said Aunt Kate, smiling. Mr. Darcy came from the pantry, fully swathed and buttoned, and a repentant old bone told him the history of his cold. Everyone gave him advice and said it were a great pity, and urged him to be very careful of his throat and the night. Gabriel watched his wife and did not join in the conversation. She was standing right under the dusty fanlight. The flame of the gas lit the rich bronze of her hair, which she had seen her drying at the fire a few days before. She was in the same attitude, and seemed unaware of the talk about her. At last she turned towards him. Gabriel saw no colour on her cheek. Her eyes were shining. A sudden tide of joy went leaping over his heart. "Mr. Darcy," he said, "what's the name of that song you were singing?" "It's called The Lass of Aubrey," Mr. Darcy. I couldn't remember it properly. "Why, do you know it?" "The Lass of Aubrey." I couldn't think of the name. "It's a very nice air," said Mary Jane. "I'm sorry you were not invoiced tonight." "Now, Mary Jane, don't annoy Mr. Darcy. I won't have to annoy him." Seeing that all were ready to start, she shepherded them to the door. "Good night," she said. "Good night, Aunt Kate, and thanks for the pleasant evening." "Good night, Gabriel." "Good night, Greta." "Good night, Aunt Kate. Thanks ever so much." "Good night, Aunt Julia." "Oh, good night, Greta. I didn't see you." "Good night, Mr. Darcy." "Good night, Mr. Callaghan." "Good night, Miss Walker." "Good night again." "Good night, all." As I thought. "Good night." The morning was still dark. A dull yellow light brooded over the houses in the river. The sky seemed to descend. It was slushy on the river, and only streaks and patches of snow lay on the roofs and patches of the deep on the area railings. The lamps were still burning redly in the murky air. Across the river, the palace of the forecourt stood out menacingly against the heavy sky. He was walking on before him when Mr. Bartow passed him. Her shoes and a brown parcel tucked under one arm, her hands holding the skirt up to the sash. She had no longer any grace of attitude. Gabriel's eyes were still bright with happiness. The blood went bounding along his veins, and the thoughts went rising to his frame, proud, joyful, tender, balanced. He was walking on before him so lightly and so erect, he longed to run after her noiselessly, catch her by the shoulders and say something foolish and affectionate. She seemed to him so frail that he longed to defend her against her, and then to be alone with her. Most of their secret life had been a burst of the stars of his head. A heliotrope envelope was lying beside his breakfast cup, and he was caressing it in his hand. Birds were twittering in the ivy, and the sunny web of the curtain was shimmering along the floor. He could not eat for happiness. They were standing on a crowded platform, facing him inside the corner of the palm of her glove. He was standing with her in the cold, looking in from a grated window at a man making coffee with roaring flame. They were very cold. Her face, fragrant in the cold air, were quite close to his, and suddenly she called out to the man at the furnace, "Is the fire on, sir?" The man could not hear her with the noise of the furnace. It was just as well, and might have answered rudely. A wave of yet more tender joy escaped from his arm, coursing and warm flood along his arm. Like the tender fires of stars, moments of their life together, no one knew or would ever know what broke upon and illuminated his memory. He longed to recall one of these moments, make her forget the years of their dull existence together, and remember only their moments of ecstasy. For the years he felt had not quenched his soul or hers. The children, his writing, her household cares had not quenched all their souls' tender fire. The one letter that he had written to her, then he had said, "Why is it that words like these seem to me so dull and cold? Is it because there is no word tender enough to be your name?" Like distant music, these words he had written years before were brought towards him from the past. He longed to be alone with her. When the others had gone away, when he and she were in the room in the hotel, and then they would be alone together, he would call softly, "Greta." Perhaps she would not hear at once. She would be undressing, and something in his voice would strike her. She would turn and look at him. At the corner of One Tavern Street they met a cab. He was glad of its rattling noise, it saved him from the conversation. She was looking out of a window and seemed tired. The other spoke only a few words, pointing out some building or street. The horse galloped along wearily under the murky morning sky, dragging his old rattling box after his heels. Gabriel was again in the cab with her, galloping against the boat, galloping their honeymoon. As the cab drove across O'Connell Bridge, Mr. Callaghan said, "They say you never cross O'Connell Bridge without seeing a white horse." "I see a white man this time," said Gabriel. "Where?" asked Mr. Darcy. Gabriel pointed to the statue, on which lay patches of snow. Then he nodded familiarly to it and waved his hand. "Good night, Dan," said Gabriel. When the cab drew up before the hotel, Gabriel jumped out and, in spite of Mr. Darcy's protest, paid the driver. He gave the man a shilling over his fare, and then saluted and said, "A prosperous New Year's to you, sir." "The same to you," said Gabriel cordially. She leaned forward for a moment on his arm, getting out of the cab, and while standing at the curbstone, bidding the others good night. She leaned lightly on his arm, as lightly as when she had danced with him a few hours before. He felt proud and happy then, happy that she was his, proud of her grace and wifely carriage. But now, after the kindling again of so many memories, the first touch of her body, musical and strange and perfumed, sent through him a keen pang of lust. Under cover of her silence, he pressed her arm closely to his side, and as they stood at the hotel door, he thought that they had escaped from their lives and duties, escaped from home, and friends, and run away together with wild and radiant hearts to a new adventure. An old man would doze in a great hooded chair in the hall. He lit a candle in the office and went before them to the stairs. They followed him in silence, their feet falling in soft thuds on the thickly carpeted stairs. She mounted the stairs behind the porter, her head bowed in the ascent, her frail shoulders curved with a burden, as with a burden. Her skirt gripped tightly about her. He could have flung his arms about her hips and held her still, for his arms were trembling with desire to seize her, and only the stress of his nails against the palms of his hands held the wild impulse of his body in check. The porter halted on the stairs to set his guttling candle. They halted too on the steps below him. In the silence, Gabriel could hear the falling of the molten wax into the tray, the thumping of his own heart against his ribs. The porter led them along the corridor and opened the door. Then he set his unstable candle down on the toilet table and asked what hour they were to be called in the morning. 8, said Gabriel. The porter pointed to the tap with the electric light and began a muttered apology, but Gabriel cut him short. We don't want your light. You have light enough from the street. And I say, he added, pointing the candle, you might remove that handsome article like a good man. The porter took up his candle again, and slowly, for he was surprised by such a novel idea. Then he mumbled good night and went out. Gabriel shot the lock to him. Ghostly light from the street lamp lay in the long shaft from one window to the other, up to the door. Gabriel threw his overcoat and hat on a couch and crossed the room towards the window. He looked down into the street in order that his emotion might calm him. Then he turned and leaned against the chest of drawers and his back to the light. She had taken off her hat and cloak and was standing before a large swinging mirror, unhooking her waist. Gabriel paused a few moments watching her, then said, Greta. He turned away from her slowly and walked along the shaft of light towards him. Her face looked so serious and weary that words would not pass Gabriel's lips. No, we're not in the moment yet. You look tired. I am a little, she answered. You don't feel ill, are we? No, tired, that's all. He went on the window and stood there, looking out. Gabriel waited again, and then, fearing that diffidence were about to conquer him, he said abruptly, By the way, Greta, what is it? You know that poor fellow Malin? He said quickly. Yes, what about him? That poor fellow, he's a decent sort of chap after all, continued Gabriel in a false voice. He gave me back that sovereign I lent him, and I didn't expect it, really. It's a pity you wouldn't keep away from that Brown, because he's not a bad fellow at heart. You were trembling now with annoyance. Why did you seem so abstracted? You did not know how you could begin. Was she annoyed too about something? If she would only turn to him, or come to him of her own accord. Take her as she was would be brutal. No, he must see some ardour in her eyes first. He longed to be master of her strange mood. When did you lend him £1? She asked, after a pause. Gabriel strove to restrain himself from chatting the brutal language about this sottish Malin, this pound. He longed to cry to her from his soul, to crush her body against his, to overmaster her. But he said, Christmas. And he opened that little Christmas card shop in Henry Street. They were in such a fever of rage and desire that he did not hear her come from the window. She stood before him for an instant, looking at him strangely. Then suddenly, raising herself on tiptoe and resting her hand lightly on his shoulders, she kissed him. You're a very generous person, Gabriel, she said. Gabriel, trembling with delight at her sudden kiss and the quaintness of her phrase, put his hands on her hair and began smoothing it back, carefully touching it with his fingers. The wash had made it fine and brilliant. His heart was brimming over with happiness. Just when he was wishing that she had come to him of her own accord. Perhaps her thoughts had been running with his. Perhaps she had felt the impetuous desire that were in him, and then the yielding mood had come upon her. Now that she had fallen to him so easily, he wondered why he had been so different. He stood holding her head between his hands. Then slipping one arm swiftly about her body and drawing her towards him, he said softly, Greta dear, what are you thinking about? She didn't answer, nor he holding to his arm. He said again softly, Tell me what it is, Greta. I think I know what is the matter. Do I know? She did not answer at once. Then she said in an outburst of tears, "Oh, I am thinking about that song. Lass of Ogrim." She broke loose from him and ran to the bed, and throwing her arms across the bed rail, hid her face. Gabriel stood stock still for a moment in astonishment, and followed her. As he passed in the way of the cheval glass, he caught sight of himself in full length, his broad, well-filled shirt front, a face whose expression always puzzled him when he saw it in the mirror, and his glimmering, gilt-rimmed eyeglass. He halted a full few paces away from her and said, "What about the song? Why does that make you cry?" She raised her head from her arm and dried her eyes with the back of her hand like a child. The kind of night that he had intended went into his voice. "Why, Greta?" he asked. "I'm thinking about a person long ago who used to sing that song." "Who was this person long ago?" asked Gabriel, smiling. "It was a person I used to know in Galway when I was living with my grandmother," she said. The smile passed away from Gabriel's face. A dull anger began to gather at the back of his mind, and the dull fires of his lust began to glow angrily in his veins. "Someone you were in love with?" he asked ironically. "It was a young boy I used to know," she answered, "named Michael Fury. He used to sing that song, The Lass of Ogrim. He was very delicate." Gabriel was silent. He did not wish her to think that he was interested in this delicate boy. "I can see him so plainly," she said after a moment. "Such eyes as he had, big dark eyes, such an expression. "Oh, then you were in love with him?" Gabriel. "I used to go out walking with him," she said, "when I was in Galway." A thought flew across Gabriel's mind. Perhaps that was why we went to go to Galway with that eyeballs girl, he said coldly. He looked at him and asked in surprise, "What for?" Her eyes made Gabriel feel awkward. He shrugged his shoulders and said, "How should I know? To see him, perhaps." She looked away from him, along the shaft of light towards the window in silence. "He is dead," she said at length. "He died when he was only 17. Isn't it a terrible thing to die so young?" "What was he?" asked Gabriel, still ironically. "He was in the gasworks," she said. Gabriel felt humiliated by the failure of his irony, and the evocation of this figure from the dead, the boy in the gasworks. While he had been full of memories of their secret life together, full of tenderness and joy and desire, she had been comparing him in her mind with another. A shameful consciousness of his own person assailed him. He saw himself as a ludicrous figure, acting as a penny boy for his aunt, a nervous, well-meaning sentimentalist, or aiming to vulgarians and idealising his own clownish lust. The pitiable, fatuous fellow he had caught a glimpse of in the mirror. Instinctively he turned his back more to the light, lest he might see the shame that burned on his forehead. He tried to keep up his tone of cold interrogation, but his voice, when he spoke, was humble and indifferent. "I suppose you're in love with this Michael Fury, Greta?" he said. "I was great for it with him at the time," she said. Her voice was veiled and sad, and Gabriel, feeling now how vain it would be to try and lead her, whether he had proposed, caressed one of her hands and said, also sadly, "What did he die so young, Greta? Consumption, was it?" "I think he died for me," she answered. A vague terror seized Gabriel at the answer, as if at that hour, when he had hoped to triumph, some impalpable and vindictive being were coming against him, gathering forces against him in its vague world. But he shook himself free of it with an effort of reason and continued to caress her hand. He did not question her again, for he felt that she would tell him of herself. Her hand was warm and moist. He did not respond to his touch, but he continued to caress it, just as he had caressed the first letter to him that spring morning. "We're in the winter," she said, "about the beginning of the winter, when I was going to leave my grandmother's and come up here to the convent. And he was ill at the time, in his lodgings in Galway, and wouldn't be let out, as the people in our ward were written to. He was in decline, they said, or something like that. I never knew that." She paused for a moment and sighed. "Poor fellow," she said. "You were very fond of me, and he was such a gentle boy. We used to go out together walking, you know, Gabriel, like the way they do in the country. He was going to study singing only for his health. He had a very good voice, poor Michael Fury." "Well, and then?" asked Gabriel. "And then, when it came to the time for me to leave Galway and come up to the convent, it was much worse. I wouldn't be let to see him, so I wrote a letter saying I was going up to Dublin and would be back in the summer, and hoping he would be better then." She paused for a moment to get her voice under control, and then went on. "The night before I left, I was in my grandmother's house in Nuns Island, packing up. And I had gravel thrown against the window. The window was so wet I couldn't see, so I ran downstairs, and I slipped out the back into the garden, and there was a poor fellow at the end of the garden shivering." "And did you not tell him to go back?" asked Gabriel. "I implored of him to go home at once, and told him he would get his death in the rain. He said he did not want to live. I could See his eyes well as well. He was standing at the end of the wall where there was a tree. Did he go home? Asked Gabriel. Yes, he went home. And when I was only a week in the convent, he died. He was buried in Orgatour, where the people came from. On the day I heard that he was dead, she stopped, choking with sobs, and, overcome by emotion, flung herself face downward on the bed, sobbing in the crib. Gabriel held her hand for a moment longer, irresolutely, and then, shy of intruding on her grief, let it fall gently, and walked quietly into the window. They were fast asleep. Gabriel, leaning on his elbow, looked for a few moments unrestfully on her tangled hair and half-open mouth, listening to her deep-drawn breath. She had that romance in her life. A man had died for her sake. It hardly pained him now to think how poor a part he, her husband, had played in her life. He watched her while she slept, as though he and she had never lived together as man and wife. His curious eyes rested long upon her face and on her hair, and as he thought of what she must have been then, in that time of her first girlish beauty, a strange friendly pity for her entered his soul. He did not like to say, even to himself, that her face was no longer beautiful, but he knew that it was no longer the face for which Michael Fury had braved death. Perhaps she had not told him all the story. His eyes moved to the chair over which she had thrown some of her clothes. A petticoat string dangled to the floor. One boot stood upright, its limp upper fallen down. The fellow of it lay upon its side. He wondered at his riot of emotion of an hour before. From what had it proceeded? From a dance supper, his own foolish speech, from the wine and dance and the merrymaking of saying good night in the hall, the pleasure of the walk along the river in the snow, or Aunt Julia? She too would soon be a shade, the shade of Patrick Morcan and his horse. She had caught that haggard look upon her. He had caught that haggard look upon her face for a moment, and she was singing a rage for the bridal. Soon, perhaps, he would be sitting in that same drawing room, dressed in black, silk hat on his knees. The blinds would be drawn down, and Aunt Kate would be sitting beside him, crying and blowing her nose, telling him how Julia had died. He would cast about in his mind for some word that might console her, and find only lame and useless ones. Yes, that would happen very soon. The air of the room chilled his shoulders. He stretched himself cautiously along under the sheet, and lay down beside his wife. One by one they were all becoming shades, that had passed boldly into that other world, and the full glorious unpassioned would fade with the dismal of age. The thought of how she who lay beside him had locked in her heart for so many years that image of her lover's eyes when he had told her that he did not wish to live. Generous tears filled Gabriel's eyes. He had never felt like that himself towards any woman. He knew that such a feeling must be love. The tears gathered more thickly in his eyes. In the partial darkness he imagined he saw the form of a young man standing under a dripping tree. Other forms were near. His soul had approached that region where dwell the vast hosts of the dead. He was conscious of, could not apprehend, their wayward and flickering existence. His own identity was fading out into a grey, impalpable world. The solid world itself, which these dead had one time reared and lived in, was dissolving and dwindling. A few light taps upon the pane made him turn to the window. It had begun to snow again. He watched sleepily the flakes, silver and dark, falling obliquely against the lamplight. The time had come for him to set out on his journey westward. Yes, the newspaper were right. Snow was general all over Ireland. It would fall on every part of the dark central plain and the treeless hills, falling softly upon the bog of Allen, and farther westward, softly falling in the dark, mutinous Shannon Way. They were falling, too, upon every part of the lonely churchyard on the hill where Michael Fleury lay buried. It lay thickly drifted on the crooked crosses and headstones, and the spears of little gates, and the barren thorns. His soul swooned slowly as he heard the snow falling faintly through the universe, faintly falling at the descent of their last end upon all the living and the dead. And that's the end of the Dead and the end of Dubliners. And I have not half an idea in my head of how to what to say about it. That was a quite long story, and by the Lord, it was a good one. But I do not know what on earth I had to make of it. There were a lot to it. The life and merriment, the people, the interaction, Our Lord, the old traditions of a fine party held every year. The great misery that underscored it, even that first confrontation between, what was it, Miss Arvels and the fella. And then God, the morning of a love lost by the wife, and the morning of never having felt that love at all by the husband. All this and more. Oh, I cannot put it into words. I cannot possibly put in the words better than that text itself, what was in that text. I do not have the skill in me to shorten or abbreviate even a portion of it. How dreadful. I want almost to push on. I know if I carry on, I'm another little lozenge from my throat. I am enjoying them. I have a few Jack Londons I could be getting on with. Make a long one out of it. Maybe push to 4 hours. Have a second other one. But once I feel like I should let the text lie, let it be respected. That was something special. I can always read the Jack Londons tomorrow. Maybe find a few more of them, make a long day of it. And that was something rather special. It really was. Lord, there are times when these books take a piece of me away with them. I think probably the first one, Call of the Wild, really got me. I didn't think it was that good, really. It just was the first one that struck me. And then we had A Mice and Men. That one really got me too, especially the ending. And this one, Dubliners, has been, I don't know what it's been really. It's been a ride of a sort. And the funny thing is, I feel like I've gotten very little from it in terms of what there is to get. I feel there's much to it that I don't understand. Layers on it. Evade me, and yet I've gotten so much from it. I've gotten so much from it, indeed. I don't know what to say on this, really. I think I've a lot to think on these texts. I can see now why Lamp regards some books as good. They're not all of them that he's given me. I can't imagine why Aesop says to do all. Compared with any of the books I mentioned, it was very poor, especially compared to this one. Lord, but this book will trouble me for time to come. There's a lot to it. I think perhaps most of all is that each story seems to want each other. I cannot be sure that any character reoccurs between two of the stories. You see the ghosts of them, the patterns they make. People who could be people. And you wonder, are they the same people, or is that just the nature of life in the city? Is that just how the things are? I wonder. Well, I hope if you've been here and you've enjoyed this, I hope that if you're here watching this in the future, you have enjoyed it. At least today we have not been bedeviled. And we left to enjoy whatever this has been in peace. I'll leave you now. And thank you again, any who have watched this fortune. Until later on.